Start recording. And go live. Alright, let's see if that worked. Bum, bum, bum. I saw Captain Marvel today because I have Disney Plus.
Okay.
I liked it.
I did
I don't
too.
know what all those nerds bitching about was for. I thought it was
a
fine.
Great buddy film.
Honestly, I thought it was better than Black Panther, which I thought was highly overrated.
Those are fighting words. I didn't think
Those are fighting words.
I didn't think it was
thought it
better
was
than
sort of
Black
mediocre.
Panther.
I didn't.
It's
I
okay
haven't
to
seen
have
it.
a wrong opinion
I was
sometimes.
gonna say, I do agree that I think Black Panther was way overhyped than it was.
I think it's probably
No,
because I went
really liked
into we're just live. We're not even on the countdown.
Oh.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
We'll be back. We were so ready that we just wanted to get going,
We were
but
too.
we're not doing that right now. We're going to the countdown. Be back in a few minutes.
Reckless we are.
We are
They still get to hear us
consummate
talk about
professionals.
Captain Marvel, though, right?
Yes.
What's that?
They still get to hear us talk about Captain Marvel.
They did still hear Captain
Because
Marvel.
the audio, we do in the
The
audio
audio.
during.
So the most frustrating thing about Captain Marvel for me was
I mean,
that
don't get me wrong. I didn't think Captain Marvel was like
Great.
good.
it was fine.
It was fine.
The frustrating thing about it was we saw it the Thursday before
Infinity
Endgame
War.
Endgame came out, and so like a thing that I do, I don't watch trailers for movies because then like when people start saying like, oh, Star Wars is coming out or whatever, I'm pleasantly surprised as opposed to like
Yeah.
agonizing over trailers for months before things come out. And they played all of the trailers for Endgame in it. So like I've dodged this for like 9 months. Why did you do this to me?
And I think it's because I went in expecting it to just be like a piece of trash, and I was like, oh, this was just like a run-of-the-mill, like standard Marvel movie. Whereas like I went into because I didn't see Black Panther in theaters either.
I also don't get the hype.
When I finally saw it, it was
They wanna
like
kill
getting talked
Mom.
about it as it was like that was what bothered me about Black Panther.
People
is
were
that
like,
his
he's
motivations,
the greatest Marvel villain. I'm like, he was just bad guy Black Panther. It was like the same character.
his like. I sort of got his motivations, but like also they threw this weird thing in where like halfway through
He's also
Martin
evil.
Freeman's character showed up and he was like, actually, he's been trained by the CIA and this is what he does. He destabilizes governments and blah, 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 blah. That's not what his stated motivation
Yeah.
was. What are we talking about? Maybe I'm just dumb and an idiot and didn't understand it, but I thought Black Panther was not up to the
I
hype
just
that had
I
been
just
given.
really don't like movies, which Marvel does this a lot, where the villain is just bad guy version of good guy.
Yeah.
Like the Black Panther, the big villain fight is two dudes in essentially the same costume with slightly different color schemes. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, the
though it
first,
wasn't worse than Venom's big final fight, where it was just mucus, blurry mucus. You couldn't even tell what was going on.
I will say I did really like the look of Black Panther. Like Wakanda was really cool.
Yeah.
And I liked all the color schemes and everything. Was
Though
really,
they weirdly
really
like
interesting
cheaped
movie.
out on some of the CGI. Those rhinos look terrible. those were the worst thing I've ever
That's
seen.
actually what ruined the movie for you. It's just like shitty rhinos.
see what ruined Captain Marvel is we saw it so late that the people cleaning up the theater is like, there's no ending, there's no secret thing in the credits, just leave.
Oh.
So we
Damn.
missed.
Oh, they lied to you because they
You-
wanted to get
They
on with
wanted
the
us to
job?
go,
No, you-
and we didn't see the kitty.
You missed the flirkin.
And literally, we found out about it because our other friends who have 4 cats who are like, you didn't see the flirkin? I'm like, what?
They actually did that to us too.
I would have Googled it in the theater and been like, shut up. You're wrong.
It was like 12:30.
Yeah. They did the same thing to us. There was like, oh, there's nothing at the end of the credits, blah, blah, blah. And I got home and then I was like, what about that ending scene? I was like, these fucking... So I've
Is
hired...
it really that important
I
for you
hired
to clean the
entire
theater
movie to...
3 minutes
we're
sooner?
not like visibly...
Although I will say, one of the best,
I mean, our audio's on.
the best.
Okay, let me rephrase. I found a video clip that was very, very long on the internet, and for the ending, because
This week on Tabletop Legends, Jason, shit. What's the word I'm looking for?
Pirates.
Yarhar.
No.
That's what I like to use.
Jason incriminates himself.
Oh,
That's what I was looking for.
Although I think
Cyber crimes.
one of the best,
Jason,
Tabletop
full
Legends
dress.
Does not condone piracy in any
How
way,
did you know
shape, or
that?
form.
one of the best,
Unless it's like the high sailing seas type of piracy. 'Cause that'd be
Yahar.
fun.
one of the
That'd be
best
fun
after
times.
credit scene that had really no payoff except it was funny was in Into the Spider-Verse, where it was essentially
like
just
that.
all that set up for a meme.
Mhm.
That's a good use of time.
Also, there's so many good things, like subtle good things about that movie. Like one of the things that really kills me every time I see it is in that first scene where we see Kingpin for the first time. First of all, Kingpin's character design is great,
Yeah.
but like he sees Miles Morales, he's just like, "Hey, kill that guy."
That was a movie that I hadn't even heard about until it was out, and then I was like, "What is this?" And then Curtis, like weeks after it was out, was like, "Go see that movie," and I did, and I'm glad I did because it's my favorite Marvel movie of any of them that I've ever seen, like including Endgame and all.
He
the
took a
other ones.
bagel.
We are.
Alrighty, switching
It
over.
automatically does. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It just ends the video.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tabletop Legends. Happy Tuesday. We're back. It's been... I feel like every week I say that it's been approximately 400,000 years since we've had a session. But this
We are
time...
ageless.
this time it's true. We are here with an episode of Tabletop Legends. If you're watching us on Twitch, thank you for joining us here on Proficiency Bonus. Please be sure to subscribe and to follow the channel. If you are watching this on YouTube at a later date, please give us a like and a subscribe here. I heard you're supposed to do that at the beginning of your videos.
That's a clever addition to this.
Hey,
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, as Curtis would say. Stick around. At break, we have our...
There.
we'll hear from our sponsors. We have Marble Moon Studio, the 8th House, and Little Dragon Corp
We need to slide
sponsoring
down
us
a little bit
tonight.
more.
You guys can
Jason
slide
is on
down.
the frame.
Come on down. There's room.
Come
On the way.
on down.
Here's the like down there.
I'm good.
He can
I
see.
can see my face.
No, the
She's
hit
pointing
the
to
button.
the. She's pointing
The
to the
button.
like button.
It's down there.
Adam, go like this. I just want to get him to do that. There's no real reason.
God, if one of these days I'll get through the intro of this goddamn show without shenanigans. What's this? I don't know what to do with my
I
hands.
don't know what to do with my hands.
I said our sponsors. Stick around. We'll hear from them during the break. So let's get into it. We rejoin our party as they head back into the town of Lagona, leaving behind Bolus Trolleyweather and his staff, whom they rescued from the clutches of an entity seemingly formed of pure thought and capable of manipulating reality around itself by using mortal minds for fuel. The source of the trouble, a tome Bolus recovered, which he believes contains an excerpt of something that predates the Nivirian Empire, is safely bound and stowed within the party's things to be brought into the collective of the Arcane Eye. Though the estate house itself, along with Bolus Trolleyweather's impressive collection of artifacts, fell to ruin in the wake of the entity's death. Through the combined efforts of the party, along with the intervention of Corey in a vision to Nula, Bolus and his staff are alive and recovering. The party left them supplied with food, medicine, and Lagona's physician, who Ronnie ran to the town to fetch yesterday after they escaped the house. As thanks, Trolleyweather gifted the party a purse containing 500 gold and promised to ask after some of their research inquiries among his contacts. As you all walk, the road is fairly busy today. With Ronnie's trip into town yesterday, word seems already to have spread of what happened at the estate. There are a number of carriages and travelers making their way in both directions. Gossip of what has happened to old Trolleyweather is on everyone's tongue, as the locals make to pay visits to many of the other estates nearby along the lake, purportedly as a concerted effort to ensure that none of the other families or eccentrics who don't come calling into town all that often aren't also currently being eaten by their homes. Cool. As you guys arrive back in the town of Lagona proper, we will pick up. The town is buzzing with the news of Trolleyweather's misfortune, and the party, you guys, find yourselves minor celebrities. Many townsfolk can't wait to buy the party a pint and ask them about the house, or offer to pay for one of the newly invented drinks, Leaf Fall Spiced Coffees, at the cafe on the corner of the town square called the Constellation Ram.
Would they like to pay for something a lot more expensive?
So it is mid-morning on 12 Uktar, or the Rotting. The day is yours to do with as you wish in the town of Laguna before heading back to Niviria via the transit hub.
I'm sorry, what was the name of the coffee shop?
The Constellation Ram.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pun. No, it's not a pun. It's just dumb wordplay.
It's not ironic, it's coincidental.
So, you guys are in Laguna. If there is anything you wish to do here, do so now. Otherwise, we will head back to Niviria for our sick intermission episode.
I would like approximately 1 hour or a minor retcon to
Okay.
to cast
Go on.
to cast Find Familiar the ritual and change Morgan's form into a spider.
Okay. Yeah, you can
just
find a quiet
Putz
spot
around
and
for
do
an
that.
hour. You want to go get some of that cheese?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the cheese.
Yep.
We'll go
No,
get cheese while you putz around when
Yep.
you're working an hour.
No, definitely getting a wheel for the house.
We need more than a wheel. I think Ronnie could eat more than a wheel.
Well, she'll get her own wheel. We're getting a wheel for the house. I'm sure our mentors and benefactors would absolutely love this cheese. And dear God, considering what that man can do with coffee, think about what he could do with that cheese.
Yes, and we should find one of our adoring fans to buy said cheese. You there! Would you like to buy me cheese? Just pointing to a random man in the street.
An old man goes, "Ah! No!
All right, just thought I'd ask. Just checking.
Sorry, he's on a date pass.
I would like to get one of those fancy drinks from Constellation Ram.
Fancy drinks. They recently invented Leaf Fall Spiced Coffee.
Just give them my name and you should be able to get it for free if they don't.
We're not charged.
Celebrity free.
You walk into the Constellation Ram and you order their drink and they say, "Okay, what's the name for the order?"
Nuvela?
Okay.
Can you spell that, please?
They're like, "Now we got it."
Definitely doesn't have a rogue A
She
in
has to
there.
peer over like, no, there's another A.
All right, they write your
They
name
put it
down.
at the
You
end.
begin to wait for your drink. Everybody else, so you guys are going to the Lorang brothers?
Yes, we are.
Butcher shop to go talk to get their cheese.
Yes.
Easy enough. They will give you a wheel of their famous whatever kind of cheese it was. I don't remember what I said. Sharp cheddar, sure. On the house as
Oh boy,
as
exciting.
the Trolleyweather Estate is a customer of theirs, and they're quite grateful of your intervention on his behalf. And,
We will spread your fame to Niviria. Thank you ever so much.
they kind of nod, and Nico Lorang says, "Well, I tell you what, we are not going to be keeping up this service that we had where we were like sending caravans out to people's estates and not meeting anybody in person, because holy shit."
Yeah, it seems really irresponsible. You
Yes.
guys.
I mean,
Think of all the wasted cheese.
okay. On the other hand,
I assume that most of the estates are going to insist upon delivering payment in person now rather than via drop. But it
look,
sure is a good thing you guys was here, because
You thought about making people sign for things?
he's like, I mean, look, as long as we get gold, we're not too fancy about papers around
Yeah,
here.
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, we can start, because we don't need anybody else getting eaten by houses.
look, billion to one shot. But yeah, I mean, the personal touch does help.
So they send you off with a wheel of cheese. Ronnie spends most of the pocket money she has left on various like cured meats, which she just carries around in her arms with her for the remainder of the day.
I buy her a sack, so she has that.
Alrighty. So as they're buying cheese, about 10 minutes later, you get a cup. They call Nellie's name about 6 times. So you realize it's your drink. And you get a pumpkin spice, a leaf fall spiced coffee, which was invented by Walter 2 days ago, and is just coffee that has various like
Leaves in it.
spices and
Taking the
cinnamon.
continent by storm.
Gold Piece says it's already made its way to the other side of Mifflin Day.
Somebody strikes for it, I don't care.
You just
Are you
want
getting
credit, you
commission?
don't want any money.
I absolutely want money. That is the point of taking credit for something, is to get paid for it in time.
You have to specify these things.
He did.
I did.
He
I
specifically
wrote out a
specifically
contract.
worked out a contract with the Moxham Trading and Mercantile for the rights to this drink that he invented.
On a vaguely related.
Yeah, on his way out, he was shouting, TM, TM, TM.
Alrighty. Anybody else have anything to do? Anything, I don't know, musically
Well, yes,
oriented?
we're waiting for his
Well,
spider
once-
egg.
Oh, you get a
I'm
spider.
done- once I'm done
I mean, that's
having
fine.
a spider.
You have a spider now.
That's part of it.
Oh, okay.
There's a plan here.
So the Caldwell Curios, Lars Caldwell, the owner of the curio shop, has that masterwork as per your request, has a cherry red masterwork violin on sale for 800 gold pieces. He had agreed to go down to 500 gold pieces if you threw in your bullshit dagger. And that was the last conversation. You vaguely threatened to rob him. And, that was the conversation you had a couple of days ago.
He has not met me because I was dicking around in Starbucks. At
Yes.
the time.
Constellation Ram.
Right, yes. Constellation Ram, yes.
He has not met you, no.
Okay. Guess I will
So let's see.
ask.
83 odd gold pieces apiece, and a little bit left over, splitting it our purse 6 ways.
I got a better idea.
What's the idea?
Not robbery.
Do I want to be here for this?
No.
You can be. It might help you a little bit.
I would like to pull out my piece of paper.
Okay.
Do I want to be here for this?
You scribble that in, and a couple of moments later, the paper says, "Who came up with the plan?" Question mark.
Who came up with the plan? Whose idea is this?
It is absolutely.
It's Walter's plan.
Paper just says, "Run, run far."
Turn and walk away.
But I agreed to it.
Oh, that...
Take from that what you will.
Would you like to go to Inkblot Books?
So I'm gonna write, Brom agreed to it. That makes it worse, not better, right?
Run faster.
now it's just really large words.
It's too late.
Yeah. Run!
Yeah. We're
Writing the question
gone.
is now incriminating evidence.
Start sharpening his shift now. You're gonna need it.
We're going to Inkblot Books.
Okay, you can go to Inkblot Books.
Ron, I need you to point out the thing you're looking at. I assume it's that bright red violin. Is it in a case of any kind? Is it like just kind of chilling
It's
there?
like on a
stand?
display behind the counter.
It's on a display.
It's like
behind-
on a like on a thing on the wall.
Does it have hot rod flames on it?
Yes.
All right, let's not get ridiculous. It's a masterwork violin. It's not Guy Fieri's violin. Calm down.
Yeah, we were just
We don't
inflated.
This is,
know that.
this is the enchanted violin. When you played it, takes you to Flavor Town.
We just left Flavor Town, man. We got a nice cheese wheel from Flavor
We
Town.
just created the post 20th level content for this
That's right.
game.
Oh, good God.
Enchanted violin.
Well, I have that T-shirt. I have that Dungeons and Dragons and Diners and Drive-Ins and Dives Escape from Flavortown T-shirt. Proceed. Lars Caldwell is behind the counter again. This is just you coming in, or you're with him?
So
It's up to him.
I will enter as a discuss. No, I'm not even aware of discuss. I don't have spider. We're gonna send her a pocket knife.
That's fine.
And I will wait for Brom to come in.
All right, so you come in, and Caldwell kind of glances up. He's like reading a little book, and he just glances up. He says, "Morning. If I can help you with anything, just let me know." Goes back to what he's doing.
I'm going to. That is Brom. That's the. You're sure.
as you come in, he says, "Ah, you're back. Decide the violin is meant to be for you after all."
I'm thinking about it.
All right. Well, what did we say? 500, and then that bullshit dagger you had.
500 and a magic item? That's... Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ugh. Alright. I mean, look. I know you love it, but... whatever. So I'm gonna walk off. And then, as I'm walking off, I'm gonna pop Morgan onto the wall next to...
Okay.
that.
Make a sleight of hand check.
Can I make some sort of distraction to help him?
Sleight of hand is... so it's a 50.
Hey, he doesn't seem to notice anything. He's kind of paying attention to you, Rom.
As I'm walking off grumbling, I'm going to have Morgan get just nearby, like enough where she can touch it, but not...
The violin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that she's like up on the wall near touching the violin.
Okay.
And I'll go to the back of the store.
And so Caldwell's kind of looking at you. He's like, "This is a quality instrument, my friend. It's well worth every penny." He says, "And I think I even have a case in the back that I'll throw in for you if you're interested."
I'm going to shoot Braum a message, spell, cantrip.
Okay.
Stall him for about 2 minutes.
Well, you say it's a quality item. That would mean I have to take your word on it.
I'm just browsing.
I'm
What,
gonna cast a message again.
He says,
Don't let
"You're
him
certainly
touch
welcome
it."
to handle it."
Well, but before we get into that, do you know its history? Like, how did you acquire it?
He says, "Well, I got it.
While he's...
Go ahead.
The casting time is 1 minute. While he's doing that, I'm going to be casting Restore Value through Morgan.
Okay.
It's a touch spell, so...
Yeah. So, and distort value is cast on the item, not on the person you're distorting the value to?
Correct. So it's an item up to a certain volume based on the spell level. It's a 3rd level spell. It's like 1 cubic, or it's like 3 cubic feet of item.
Okay.
It can be halved or doubled. I'm going to be making it look like it is weather-worn, full of cobwebs,
Okay.
and otherwise in poor condition, like it's been sitting there way too long. It has a spell save.
You should have it where he takes it off. There's the hole in the back. It's like, what are you trying to pull here?
Let me double check this spell.
How big is Morgan right now?
She's a spider.
Oh, like
Spider.
So she's
not a tarantula.
she's probably about a tarantula size.
Oh, a tarantula.
So like the tiniest thing that I could find was that stuff. Yeah.
Which probably fits in this store.
So I'm casting it at 3rd level.
Okay.
I forgot that I asked him for puppets and/or human skulls. Last time I was in here.
Lucky that
He also just remembers that now, and then he's like, "Oh, you're the puppet human skull guy."
The what?
He's as Walter's doing this, he tells you basically he acquired it. A traveling musician came through town with a troupe, who was the troupe was fairly well to do. This particular musician was a little unlucky and a little bit unfortunately addicted to gambling, and pawned the violin to him in order to get enough coin to pay off some gambling debts that he had, and you guys kind of have this conversation. You sort of start to haggle about well, I want to know about it. He sort of tells you about it. You complete your spell through Morgan.
One more thing.
Yep.
I'm going to grab my eye needle and do one of those. This guy's trying to catch you as I'm casting hex on the guy, targeting intelligence.
Okay. Make a deception check on that one. Nice.
So it's a 26.
Okay. So you kind of like wave this at him. He sort of like blinks at you a little bit, as if you're like a crazy person, and then he kind of like goes back to you, and he says, "Right. So, are you interested or not?"
I'm interested, but I want to see it. I want to see it real up close.
He says, "Sure." And he turns around and he's like, "The hell? What the hell happened to this?" He picks it up and he like turning it over.
Did he? You enchanted it, didn't it? So it would look nicer. I know there are illusions like that.
He's looking it over. He's
Son
like,
of a bitch.
It's a disadvantage. It's an intelligence.
That's fine. I mean, the distort value of the spell does not keep him from knowing that it was nice 1 second ago.
That is
true. So he's already like very confused. He's like looking this over. He's like what? He's like looking at you.
I told you didn't want it. I think
What?
I guess it's red.
Yeah, we see this all the
He's
time.
like, this has been on my wall for months.
Well, that's probably why, since I'll just say to disrepair.
Never.
That cost a
Do
fortune
what,
in condition
do
back
what
in
you
the
want,
city.
man. I'm out of
So
here.
you told me some guy pawned this. I hope you didn't pay him a lot of money for this.
He's in a huff. Just I can't.
He
believe
clearly ripped you off.
He's like totally flabbergasted. Go ahead and Russell, you can make a deception check at advantage, as he is thoroughly confused right now.
Okay. that's only minor fraud. That's fine.
That would be a 22.
I
I do have a plus 10.
He like puts the violin down on the table, and he's like, "Oh my God, this has been here for months, and it was illusion the whole time. Oh Jesus!"
Yeah, it's not the first time I've run into one of these. That guy probably does that in every town he comes to. It's a good way to rack up get out of your gambling debts with essentially getting rid of your junk.
So you said you can half the apparent value of it.
I can half the apparent. Like basically, like it's gonna.
I mean, it's still a good violin.
It's still a good violin, but it looks like it's gonna take a fortune
Sure.
to like recondition.
So he goes, "Oh crap! All right, well, this is still a quality instrument, despite this bullshit. How about this? Why don't we say?" Kind of looks it over. He looks it over. So what did we say it was? 500 plus the bullshit dagger.
Yeah.
How about 250 in the bullshit dagger, and it's yours?
How about 300? I'd rather try to get a little bit more for that dagger in the future.
Deal.
Alrighty.
Deal. At least I make my money back, son of a bitch. If I ever see that bard again through this town, it's gonna be hell to pay. So he gets it down. He says, right, so 300 gold. I'll still throw in the case just because I guess you folks are doing me kind of a favor.
Yeah, I got a friend that collects these. He likes to fix them up, so it's worth it to him, I guess. But so you're lucky.
He's like, thoroughly disgusted at the hoodwinking.
Next time somebody tries to pawn something real expensive, check it over real good. Usually you gotta give it a good bite. And
He's thinking, man, no, I'll send away. I heard you can get charms that dispel some of those types of illusions. I'm gonna have to get me one.
yeah, I heard those are kind of crap though.
You know, I do feel a little bit bad for you. I do represent a company that does travel and merchandising. I could probably get them to start distributing to this town, especially as it's clearly a nice place. I can put in a good word for you if you'd like. Maybe get you some good, out-of-country items, something a little bit more rare than run-of-the-mill stuff.
What do you work for?
Moxham Trading Merc.
Oh, really? Oh, the caravans come through here every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, I'm an independent business, but sure. Certainly, if their caravans would pay an old visit to old Caldwell, I could I could always use some exotic wares. People in this town got more money than sense sometimes.
I mean,
I'll pull
just
out.
look at the guy who tried to get killed by his hounds.
I'll pull out a little like contract and get him to
Okay. So he
make
kind
an
of
agreement.
sort of signs that up, like, oh, I'll trade with Moxham's people in good faith. So you pay him his 300 gold. You don't have any like fake money you're gonna try and sell to him either. No, okay.
And you sure nothing in the skull department?
No, I do not trade in the skulls.
What about non-human?
Nope, I don't. You could probably go to the butchers. They might have something kicking around if you're really like in need of a skull.
Looking for something more exotic than that. Never mind.
He gives you your violin. He gives you the case is nothing special. It just is a case that he had laying around. But he puts the case in and gives it to you. Takes the payment and he kind of like, all right, well, it's a pleasure doing business with you.
Alrighty. Trying to get ripped off next time.
I'll do my best. And... you guys burst into laughter. One foot outside the door.
Outside. A-E-F. Never. Just give me that. Oh.
We have a coffee for Alan. Alan here? Is there an Alan?
I just mage handed out his hand. Oh my god.
It's like, we have a coffee for Ricky here? That's mine.
Yeah.
I didn't even order a coffee. Yeah, I'm Ricky.
Olive, are you here?
Oh. Let's go to the Celestial
Yeah, the
Weasel.
Celestial Weasel.
Yep.
So, Brom, if you really don't want that dagger, I'll certainly take it off your hands.
I do want the dagger. I was just... it was the only thing I really had of value.
All right, so, well, you now have a masterwork violin.
Just dismiss the entire stuff. Walks out.
Good thing I doubled my gold at the gambling myself the other day. Cause
Well done. Well done, gentlemen.
Plenty of money.
It's just enhanced negotiation tactics. It's fine.
That was before our share from the... Whatchamacallit.
So you actually had 300 gold on you.
Yeah, I
Yes,
had...
for sure had the money to have just bought that.
Yeah, I had on me before we divvied up our most recent... I had 335 gold from
Oh, because I'm
from winning, like doubling my money
I am poor as hell.
at
Well, now
So-
you've got 83, and there's a
at
little
blackjack
change.
or whatever we played at the gala.
The way that I am, handling masterwork instruments for the purposes of our game, any like performance check that you make with that item with that instrument will essentially you'll like double your proficiency bonus with it.
Nice.
Before we leave, I'm just going to try to go around to the various shops and see if I can get anybody into signing up with exclusive discounts.
I mean, you do that. There's not, you don't really have
Besides
much in
the
the way of luck. They're just sort of like, it's small boutique shops here. They're not so much in the need of any type of specific anything. All right. Anything else you guys got to do in Laguna?
We're at the bookstore.
You're at the. Is there anything specific you're doing at the bookstore? You bought your 2 books the other day.
I bought 5 books from them. No, I bought like 12 books from them.
You bought 2 really nice books
Yes.
and then like some kids' books.
Yep.
I just didn't want to be where
As I go to like find the bookshop, I'm just gonna ask the bookkeeper real fast before I grab them to if they have any books on contract magic.
She looks. She says, "No, that's not. I've never even heard of such a thing. Contract magic.
Oh, don't worry about it. Never mind.
Well, sorry, I can't help you. I mean, I'll certainly, if I ever come across anything,
Got any books on puppets?
sure. Like children's books about puppets, books about what are you trying to make a
Like
puppet?
the art
The art of puppetry. Let me see. I think I've got something. All right. Sure. I've got a book right here called Puppets and You, the whimsical world of puppetry. It's all about puppeteering.
Self-expression through puppeteering.
Cool.
Yeah. Yes, and DMing.
How much?
She says, "Oh, for this, 5 silver."
You got it.
It's yours. She trades it to you. Alright, you have
We
a book
don't
on,
need to devalue that.
a book on puppeteering.
I am out of spell slots. Here we go.
Did you pick up Morgan?
Dismissed her. I popped her back into the pocket.
Thought you just
Or she's
still on the wall.
Or she's hitching a ride inside the case. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, when you made Morgan a spider, I was much more envisioning like this, rather than like tarantula sized.
Well, I was
Otherwise, when he turned around to look at that violin, it might have gone a lot differently.
well,
She would have gone away.
I wasn't sure how small I could make the spider. Like I wasn't sure if it would be like a house spider. It doesn't say. It just says tiny.
I always assumed like house spider size
Oh,
because they have like 1 hit point.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever the spider you envision.
I mean, it's fine.
It's too late now.
Clever use of. For those of you who might be watching with us tonight and are confused about what shenanigans they just pulled, that's a spell called Distort Value, which is unique to the Acquisitions Incorporated published book. But I have given these guys access to those spells if they should like to choose them. Jason asked me if he could have that one, and then immediately used it to steal from me.
It's not theft. It's fraud. It's different.
That's why
To
your
be
paladin
fair,
left.
to be fair, before he used the spell, the original plan was way more thefty than what.
This has 100% less.
I did not. I wouldn't have put it in the game if I wasn't gonna be cool with you guys.
The last
And
time
whatever
I saw that
shenanigans you
guy,
came
I
up
went, "What time you close tonight?"
all right. Well, if everybody's done, we'll head back to.
Oh, we didn't even try and get a hero discount. Damn it! Oh well.
You didn't try to get a hero discount.
For crying out loud, leave it alone. We got a
500
free.
gold off the asking price is a fair
Look,
trade.
we got a free cheese wheel.
You did get a free cheese wheel,
I only took Rick's coffee.
Yes.
and you took Rick's coffee.
Did you try
There's-
this leaf false?
There's probably
Spice
someone
coffee?
called Regan who's going, "Where's my coffee?"
I think I'm twitchy enough without caffeine.
Here, try it. Try it.
I don't think that's a good idea for anyone.
Give him caffeine.
No. Look, Ronnie
You
already
roll
had
anytime Kel drinks coffee, he automatically has to roll the wild magic surge too.
Ronnie had
No,
two
I'm
of
just kidding.
those. She's literally vibrating in place.
Can I get another one before we leave?
No.
No.
Related question. If I have Mage Hand active, how many things can I hold? Could I reasonably have 3 hands full of coffee to give to Kel?
Yeah.
Perfect.
4. I'm
Okay.
adding in mine.
So there's just like you have like a halo of coffee.
Yes.
It's just like floating around you.
It's the coffee stones.
Here, I'll
Do
help
it,
you.
Cal.
I'll take one.
Do it.
I don't think that's a good idea for anyone.
Okay.
Fine, I'll take a dark roast to go.
They
A dark roasted Kel.
They now have to quickly invent the to-go cup at this fantasy coffee place.
Paper cups here? What kind of establishment is this?
I
They give you a
also
cup and they're red and they don't have a logo on them. Everyone's mad.
I also learned my lesson from just taking another man's drink because this is just milk.
All right. Now are we done in Laguna?
Yes, I think it may have been a child.
No, that was a
Oh,
halfling.
goodness. So, plug this in while it keeps knocking it out.
Cool.
So,
Let's Laguna home.
oh boy. And with that,
It's the same pun I made coming in too.
With that, the show is canceled. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
No more tabletop.
Well done.
That's the second time I made. But we were going into the portal. I said, "Well, let's Laguna."
I bet we made a show's canceled joke when you said it the first time too.
Yep.
Yes.
Show's been canceled so many times.
All right. Which way does Niviria go?
Like if it wasn't canceled after
I
last
believe
week's
this way was this way.
Because I
Believe the river was on our side. Yes.
There we go.
That looks
For me.
familiar.
Works.
Okay. Now, steady. We just walk through. Everything's fine, just like last time.
It takes you till a little bit later in the day. You go.
Look,
you announce.
you
that
want me to
all-
hold your hand?
But then I have to put down my coffee.
Mage hand.
hold their tail.
There.
Nula has plenty of time to calm down and/or work herself up further.
Probably
as,
work herself up for it.
once you go, that same gnome is working there before. He says, he basically says, okay, I'll slot you in. And about 15 minutes later, he tells you he's got a late afternoon portal arranged for you guys back to Niviria. So you kind of wait around, probably bamboozle some more poor townspeople. Coffee shenanigans, I guess, take place. And by slightly after lunch, you guys step back through the portal in this kind of small transit hub in Laguna into the much larger main transit network in the city of Niviria. It is just as busy as it was the first time, people kind of milling about that huge centralized portal spot, the big gigundo boulder suspended up above, and you are ushered on out, and you're back at the city.
Thanks. Come on. What'd I tell you? On my shoe!
At least there weren't any delays.
I'm hopping on one foot
At least
to
the
one
next
side.
time
I start shaking my foot at you.
I just want to make a quick detour to headquarters for Moxum to report on to request the new shenanigans from the town, and then head back over, with everybody else, I guess, wherever we're going.
Yeah, I want to drop the book off with them post haste, so if you want to split off, we'll see when you get back to the...
10 minutes.
All right.
10 extra minutes behind you guys.
All right.
Alrighty, so Walter's heading off in a direction. What are the rest of you doing? Just head back?
I want to get rid of this book.
Yeah, I'm making a beeline for...
Alrighty, so everybody else is going to head back to 28 Dorset.
Can we get like a 90s theme song for 28 Dorset?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, just like the same still image of the outside of the building every time it plays.
Everywhere you look,
well,
there's
demonetized.
a gnome.
It was less than 15 seconds. It's fine.
Unless you have like side
I have
stuff to do.
I have nothing actually important. It's just a narrative thing.
Okay, then narratively we will say you did that, and we'll bring you back into the scene. We don't need to go see that if it's not a cover for something else.
No, that's enough fraud for one day.
Meanwhile, you guys make your way back. You return. At this point, you don't need to like knock. You can just go in.
We're home.
And as you do, Stanfield kind of like putters past it. Oh, good to see you. I trust your journey went well.
Brought you some cheese.
Oh. And he takes the cheese. He says, "Oh, this looks rather high quality. I shall certainly be able to do something with this." He is then he just has like an armload of meats dumped on him by Ronnie's. Oh, well.
I'm kind of holding my hands under his to try and catch stuff.
I don't know what I've done to deserve such gifts. We shall certainly put this to use.
Well, you were pretty good in that play 6 years ago. This
Steady. I got you, man. Here we go. Yeah.
Sausages going everywhere.
That's the title of Brahms' book.
Sausages everywhere.
Sausages going everywhere.
Jeez.
And that's why we're canceled.
As he's heading off to the kitchen, Ronnie follows along with him, and he calls it. He says, Mistress Sutumba is out, but I believe Masters Dimios and Copper Kettle are up in the laboratory if you wish to report into them.
To the lab!
We better give the bad news.
Yep. To the lab.
The lab
so
Wrong lever! I don't even have that lever.
You head up to the third floor. There you see, in that spell circle that they have built into the floor up on this level, you see blackened wand that you guys recovered from Stone Mill is in the center of that circle on like a little stand. There are a set of like 6 candles set in a ring outside of the ring, and Colin is like sitting on a stool, smoking from a pipe and watching this wand intently as Dimia stands, just like he's facing you. He's on the far side of the ring, facing towards you. He has one hand held out in the direction of this wand. The other one, the one that he has that glove that he always wears, is just sort of like over near his body, and there is just like an ever so slight glow emanating from his hand, and he's like a little like perspirating a little bit. It seems to be deep in concentration, and unless you guys like run up the stairs like, hey,
Nope. Seeing that they're busy, I'm quiet as a church mouse.
Colin, definitely looks. He sees you guys come in. You don't see any recognition in his face. He goes back to watching as Dimios doesn't seem concerned. He doesn't pay you much mind either. Couple of minutes go by, and you see Dimios like put his hand down and step back, and looks up to you as Colin looks at the wand for another second. Looks back to you guys, gets up, like stumps over to his little area, and comes back with that book.
126.
And he kind of sits down. He starts flipping through. He says, "I assumed when Dimios didn't react that we must know you. 126, Walter Gray."
Yes, and I believe we're plus or minus 3.
He kind of flips through. He says, Walter Gray, okay.
Alar Cabot.
Alar, yep, I see you there. Which one of you is Kel? Kel. Dimios is like, Colin, Nula Kel from Walter Alar. I assume you are like here at this point. Since you were otherwise engaged, you've now come in. Just so you don't have to sit the hand.
Oh, 128.
He kind of looks you up. It takes him a couple of minutes to like flip through the little notes he has on each of you to like jog himself on who you are. He says, right, now that we're all reacquainted, he's kind of then just like looks at Dimios because he doesn't know what's going on.
We have a report on our visit to your friend, Mr. Trolleyweather.
Bolus?
Yes.
Oh, did I send you to look in on Bolus?
You did.
Well, that was clever of me. And Dimios is like, he says, is everything all right with
I'm going to point to the wine and be like, that's less bad.
I pull out the very tightly bound. Every spare belt and piece of rope I have, I've tied it down.
Sure.
Mr. Trolleyweather came into the possession of this book.
Hey, he wrote me that he thought he had a book that might be able to help with my...
Don't
Yeah.
open.
Do not open.
Dimius, don't let him open that.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, you don't open this book. Nobody opened this book.
Christ, is Bolus all right?
No.
He is, he's better.
Alive.
I think we
Okay,
better
alive.
begin-
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
All right. So,
So-
he came into the possession of this book.
Through a contact that provides things to him from Diggs, named Honorand Border.
Okay.
Contained within this book, he believes were some pre-Nivirian writing,
And a creature from the plane of thought.
which apparently feasts upon people's
Imagination.
minds and imagination.
And then alters their perceptions of reality.
And it proceeded to use the staff and trolleys as
A nice tasty treat.
it
And
also
created a hell of a fun house.
it turned the Trolleyweather estate into its playground. We were able to save all the staff.
One may not recover mentally.
the images that it created felt quite real and seemed quite real. And this went on for 2-3 months, extracting a great toll upon them.
Dimios is like grim, his jaws set. Colin looks like a little stricken as you guys explain this to him.
The Trolleyweather estate, the building, is a ruin, an effect apparently of the creature.
The artifacts inside. Gone.
The Shizuls were thrown in the well. Such a waste.
The horses died in the stable.
Colin's like, goodness, I had no idea it was so severe. I thought I'd send you people along, or whoever I sent, and I'd find him lost in some new toy he'd acquired for himself.
Well,
Not entirely wrong.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that's sort of true, eh?
Totally wrong.
Oh, well,
So
you say he's alright, and
he's recovering. It extracted quite a toll on him, but he's a tough old man.
His diet is being monitored very closely.
But
He is not pleased.
it probably won't be long before he's enjoying some nice pies soon.
he kind of nods. Well, I apologize that I sent you into such a disaster. So unprepared, but you do have my gratitude. Old Bolus is, well, he's one of the few that I've still got left up here, from before. I'm grateful that he's alive.
If you hadn't sent us, it probably wouldn't have been long before it would have been too late for them, and who knows what would have happened after that.
Kind of nods. So Dimias says, right, this book, you have it like out somewhere.
Yeah.
He kind of takes it, he turns it over, he looks at it. He says, if this is, as you say, Colin says, interrupts him, he says, if it's like they say, you know what I vote. Dimias looks up, he says, I vote that we get that the hell out of here. I say we drop a line to the Ordinum and have them send a reclaimer. This is not something that I want to mess with.
Alar's eyes just get as big as saucers.
Whoever takes possession of it, we just need to be very clear that it should not be opened or studied or anything. Bola said that by reading the passages, he believed that he was willing the creature into being.
On this plane, anyway.
Yes.
From it's some sort of summoning effect.
Dimias nods, he says, indeed, I think probably the Ordinum are the best caretakers for such a thing. They have resources and deep, dark vaults that they can keep things like this. Perhaps it is best that we do no tampering with it and simply send it to them. Colin's like, hey, that's my vote. Namara's not here, but I'm sure she'd agree. It's 2-1 anyway, even if she doesn't, so to hell with her. At which point, behind you all, Namara is like, do not worry. I agree as well. She entered the room at some point, and she's just there.
Do I have to make a save to not shit my pants right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll deception to not freak.
I just squeal.
14. So I definitely tense, but it's not the it would have been otherwise.
Dimios and Colin seem to be pretty used to this behavior, so they're like, well then, it is settled. We will, I will have a message sent to the Ordinum and ask that they send a reclaimer here to retrieve this and take it back to Terra Libra. In the meantime, you have certainly completed this contract exceeding all expectations, and we shall pay you accordingly.
Cool.
This is, I believe the agreed upon rate was 200 gold pieces for a completed contract. We can, at this point, we can write you a promissory note that you can bring to any money changer or bank. If you wish payment immediately, if you're not in as much of a hurry, Stanfield can be sent to collect the coin, and we can pay you in physical coinage. The decision is yours.
I don't think we need to inconvenience.
No,
He's got better things to do.
we gifted Stanfield, to be
Just
more
a handful
specific,
of
Ronnie
cheese.
gifted Stanfield with a great deal of
Exotic foods.
from our journey. So we will be eating quite well for the next few days. Not to insult the fine table that you all have said previously.
This is, of course not. I will. I'll drop the papers post haste, and I suppose you want to take at least a few days in the city to recuperate. It sounds like you've had quite an ordeal. Though, Namara, so long as you do not object, I should think that I would like to have them complete the contract for Mr. Harkin in Valond next. Too much time passes. I don't want the trail to go cold on whatever this case is that he's working, and certainly our fool's errand here.
That's the missing child. Missing
Woman,
person?
as far as
Woman.
I don't know any of the. He did not provide details, but yes, my associate Inspector Harkin in out of Audricombe sent a message asking for assistance on a case. He did not. He didn't make it sound like it was immediately pressing at the time, but as these things go, I certainly would not like to let it sit any longer. You are absolutely welcome to take a few days to recuperate if you feel necessary. It might take me a bit of time to arrange transit out to Audricombe through the network, but unless you have any objection, Namara, that is what I would like to assign them next. And she sort of just shrugs. That is fine. I do not think my ancient ruin is going anywhere anytime soon. And at that point, the rest of the day is yours.
All right. I am going to head out into the city. Let me see. Where would I find? Besides Maxim, are there any courier?
Oh, plenty.
Okay.
Yeah, you can easily find a courier.
Right. I will, in that case,
I'm gonna head off in search of a courier to send some. Okay.
Mhm.
What kind of stuff you guys looking to do?
I am going to look around for a good source of healing potions.
Healing potions, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
And definitely try to scum them down as much as humanly possible.
Alrighty. So, as you're getting ready to do that, Namara approaches you, Nula, and you, Walter, actually. And she says, if you're going to be in town for a few days, I have some errands to run tomorrow. Would it trouble you to accompany an old woman on a walk about the city?
Not at all.
Perfect.
More than willing to help out. There are some things I'd like to do anyway, so sure.
She now says, excellent. Then tomorrow morning we will set off. You're heading out. What are you guys doing? Anything?
I'm going to go to the market.
You head to the market. Okay. And we.
I have 2 old books to look at.
Okay. Cool. So let's handle these things in this order. we'll start with Kel. As you are going through your books, here is the information that you glean in broad strokes from these two books. So you purchased. I assume you're talking about like the nice books and not the children's books. You don't want me to just recite a dozen children's stories to you, right?
I mean, we can do that too.
No, I don't think we can.
Bedtime.
So the two nice books that you purchased, a book called Age of Reason, and a book called The Fall. Yes. So The Fall, in broad strokes, is a book detailing elements in the author's opinion that led to the collapse of the Nivirian Empire and the great wars that followed. The historian who wrote this book is credits a considerable amount of the Nivirian Empire's fall due to a sort of a set of circumstances that were very, very much helped along by the dwarves of Kras'Udur. The Dwarven Kingdom under the Nivarians' boot were extremely unhappy with the Nivarian rule, and things had been very tenuous in that region for centuries. The dwarves of Kras'Udur were essentially like always teetering on the brink of open revolt, and it was only through extremely firm militant control that the Nivirian Empire like kept them essentially working the mines. That unrest in the author's opinion is like the linchpin to the whole thing. The event that is actually discussed that kicks everything off, which is fairly well known. Everybody more or less knows that the Empire's capital was destroyed by a black dragon, Silarax the Black. The author talks about sort of the tail ends of the Nivirian Empire's like crusades against the dragons. Silarax the Black was thought to have been killed some years previously, but made a return out of the blue, descending upon the Nivirian Empire's capital city and essentially laying waste to it, the last High Empyrean of the Empire, and setting off the blight that would transform what was then the Caladuan Peninsula into what is now the Blighted Peninsula, that Nula's order, the Order of the Radiant Dawn, essentially maintain a presence to keep from spreading any further into the mainland. With that confluence of events happening, the seat of the Nivarians' power being broken with Silarax's raising of the city, it essentially gave the dwarves the opportunity to shake loose the yoke of Nivarian control, and they immediately flew into revolt. Pushed the Nivarian forces, already sort of confused, out of the Udyr Mountains, and claimed the region for their own, which then essentially began their period of just isolationist policy of like no outsiders in our mountains, that persists to this day. And the dwarves' fierce control of the Udyr mountain range, which cuts a good chunk of the continent in half, further went to splinter the Nivarians' control, and from that point on, it just devolved into squabbles for power. And there's minor details of sections of the Empire, trying to reform, and the wars go on from there. There's nothing really super specific. It's just basically kingdoms rise and fall. Governments are restructured. The Nivirian Empire, as it was, crumbles, and eventually, the five that exists today are what stabilizes. So that's what you get out of the fall. The Age of Reason is a book detailing the history of the formation of the Ordinum Libri. From this, you learn that the Ordinum Libri eventually arose as an underground railroad of sorts for both people, specifically wizards, sorcerers, arcanists, educated people in the mundane arts, as well as magical items and like antiquities, art, literature, things like that. In this time of unrest, as the Nivirian Empire is tearing itself to shreds and all of these new kingdoms are popping up and they're battling each other, it became a very, very popular practice for a couple of 100 years for these warring would-be nations to basically go in and kill their neighbors' sorcerers, kill their neighbors' arcanists, burn rival kingdoms' libraries, destroy their fonts of knowledge, all of which really only serve just to drive all of civilization backwards into this dark age, which to this day is still being crawled out of. The Ordinum Libri was originally formed by a group of scholars and heroic types smuggling things across borders, hiding valuable treasure, trying to preserve knowledge and magic across the land. They eventually grow in numbers, grow in power, to the point where they take over a small keep of their own in what is now Mithlande. That keep eventually became what is today the independent city-state of Terra Libra, which is to this day in Mithlande. It's like southwest of where you guys are, of Niviria. And essentially the transformation as things began to sort of settle down within the Five Kingdoms, this transformation from underground railroad and protectors and saviors of knowledge and magic sort of transitioned into this organization that becomes what it is today, which is a bastion of magical and mundane learning. They maintain enclaves all over the Five Kingdoms. They are a strictly neutral organization to any of the Five Kingdoms, and they essentially have the mission of preserving and sharing what knowledge they can throughout the kingdoms, as well as focusing a huge effort on relic hunting. They have massive branches of the Ordinum that just do that. They just go out and look for things and try and find information that was once lost. They are directly responsible for a lot of the like conveniences that have come back to the world. Comes from the Ordinum somehow getting their hands on something and disseminating that information across the Five Kingdoms. So that's what you pull out of those two books. At your sort of casual pace through them. If you spend like additional time reading through them, there might be some more like minor details of things, but that's the broad strokes of what both of those two books encompass. So that is what you're doing for the afternoon. Brahm, you said you're heading to the market.
Yep.
What are you doing at the market?
I'm just looking for like fabric and some wire and some just like bits like.
Okay. So you head out to the market.
Are you making a puppet?
Maybe.
You head out to the market. You're doing some probably. Make an investigation check. And let's not complicate the time frame here. We'll say Namara's errands with you are going to happen today.
10.
10? Okay. You head out to the market. Alar, you are heading out for a courier. As Kel sets up to read, you two are preparing to head out with Namar. Both of you guys, as you are heading out and about the streets, you're looking through the shops, you're heading for the courier. You notice something that you didn't catch your attention on the way in from the transit station. You look, and there is from the Hall of Law, where the Parliament meets in the upper ward. There seems to be a chimney on that building, which is currently releasing a steady stream of dark navy smoke.
History?
The Pope is dead.
22.
Doesn't that mean they picked the new pope?
No, White is picked the new
You
Pope.
are you're not necessarily familiar with the exact significance of this, but you do know that this is very likely some sort of a thing that is done to be like a citywide signal of some piece of information that they are relaying to the populace.
Okay. If I see anybody else who's looking at that, I'm trying to get a gauge on their.
All right. I mean, at this point, nobody seems to be paying a special attention to it. You're not sure how long it's been going on.
Okay.
People are seem like they're aware of it. You don't notice people like,
Okay.
but nobody's paying it specific attention right now. Brahm, you don't really find the puppetry materials that you're looking for.
Okay.
You do have like a weird feeling through most of your shopping that like somebody's following you. You don't really see anybody. You kind of look, but you have that like that street smart sense in the back of your head tells you like somebody's eyeing you from somewhere. As you carry on, Alar, you begin to walk, and maybe 20 minutes towards you head towards the courier there, and you hear from across the street your name as a voice calls out, Alar Cabot Jr.
I'm going to try and peek without seeming like I'm peeking. So I guess that's deception.
Sure.
That's a 9, so not as sly as I'd hoped.
So yeah, you kind of like the voice calls again. Says, "Alar, my friend," and as you kind of look, emerging from a tailor shop, dressed in very fine black with gold embroidered, like filigree, is none other than Torian Idrian.
Mr. Idrian.
He kind
Or
of
Master Idrian. My apologies.
takes a few steps over. He says, what luck that I would run into you. What a lovely chance encounter. I had
Indeed.
I had been hearing that you and the group had taken up employment with the collective of the Arcane Eye. I was so happy to hear that.
Oh, and we thank you for your work in connecting all of us to them.
He nods. He says, "Think nothing of it. It's something of my specialty." He says, "What brings you out and about in the city today?"
I suspect that you might have an inkling already, but I'll humor you. I'm on my way to find a reputable courier.
He
Which, surprise, surprise, I believe that's a duty that you are very well versed in.
He says, "Oh, I am, but you can't afford me." He says,
I
"No,
didn't
but
think so."
but as it were, I also am am out today running a few errands, and am on my way to the courier to send a letter. How fortuitous! Would it trouble you terribly for a walk and some conversation?"
Not at all, sir. Not at all.
Lovely. Well then, did you have a specific post in mind? There's one that I like to use.
I'm
just
a
little
newcomer
ways
to
up.
the city, and your recommendations have proven quite excellent. So lead on, sir.
He says, "Perfect." I says, "Well then, just this way." And you guys set off down the street together. After a couple of moments, he says, "One thing." He steps aside. He goes over to like the side of the street. He reaches into his coat. He pulls out a single silver piece from his purse, and he just drops it on the ground, like sort of on the curb near the street, and walks back to you. Well then, yes. So let us go. It's just this way, and I'm ever so interested to hear how the employment has gone so far. And you guys begin to set off to walk and have some conversation, and we will come back to you in a second as we will move over to Callaghan, as you have been reading for a little while.
And then everything blew up.
And everything blew up. No, you've been reading for a while at this point. There is a knock on your door, and you hear Stanfield's voice from the hallway. He says, "Master Callan, I hate to disturb you, but there has been a letter for you."
I'll open the door.
Stanfield's there, and he has an envelope in his hand. He says, "This just arrived. It's addressed to you."
It's very strange. Thank you, Stanfield.
Naturally, sir. He hands it to you, and he turns to leave.
Is there any indication of who is from?
It says your name on the front, and it has a stamp of the Mythlindian Royal Library on it.
Overdue notice.
It's actually the sum of 500 gold. What convenient.
I will open it.
Okay. So, you open this, and it's just an envelope. You take out a piece of paper. It says, Mr. Dargins, Dargins, and Dargins is like italicized. When last we spoke, we discussed the nature of knowledge and its accessibility to all. In the following days, I gave a great deal of thought to your words, which inspired me to inquire after the subject matter we had discussed. I should think you would wish to pay the library a visit at your earliest convenience, especially when you are so close, again italicized, to gaining your final punch. Your respectful civil servant, Archivist Bertram Flick. Postscript. You will be delighted to know that you misplaced this during your last visit, and I was lucky enough to happen upon it. And as you look in that envelope, there is a second piece of paper in there. You take it out, and it is the Mythlindian... what the hell's... Where's the name of that thing? The second item is a Mythlindian Royal Library Scholastic Patronage and Pizza Party punch card. filled out in the name of one Zeligot Dargins. And it has 9 of 10 punches already completed.
How strange.
So we're calling you Zell now.
Can you spell that?
Zelliligot. Zeligot Dargins. Dargins. The Mythlindian Royal Library Scholastic Patronage and Pizza Party punch card.
Nice.
So you have that.
What's the acronym for
Yep.
that?
Let's see. It would be the Merle's. It ends in like 5 P's.
MSRP.
Meanwhile, both of you are setting to get ready to go out with Namar. As she kind of putters around, getting some things, she says, "Remind me when we reconvene tonight at the house, we should bring out the crate. I have been giving some consideration to some of the items we have lying around that might be suited to each of you.
Will do.
As was the deal, you have completed another contract. I owe you each one more thing from the box. And she says, well, anyway, we have some errands to run. It should take but a few hours. And she leads you guys outside. She's not wearing a coat. It's cold, but she is, as always, bare-sleeved.
She's got bear sleeves.
Yeah, bare sleeves. Big, crazy hair is out. Doesn't seem to be too bothered by the cold at all. Goes into the back, behind the house, and retrieves like a little wagon with a handle on it from the shed back there. No, it's not, unfortunately. It looks like maybe it was red, 10 years ago.
Rust and sand.
It's just sort of like raw wood color now.
Oh,
And she says,
let me get that for you.
she says, oh, thank you, dear. And she hands it to you. And she sets off. And you guys head from the collective's apartments there. Yep. Up, north into the guild ward, which is the one where your finger's over, Nula. Yep. The guild ward. Takes you 15, 20 or so minutes. And along the way, she just, she kind of makes conversation. It's like the most that Namara has ever spoken in complete sentences to you guys.
Can I ask her a question?
Sure.
I will ask her about if she has knowledge of or experience with dreams, and then explain what happened when I saw Corey.
Okay.
Not that it's a dream, but it's the closest that I can describe it as.
So you guys kind of walk, you explain this to her. She's, if you'll remember, she is blind, as far as you can tell. So she just kind of, she's just gazing in nowhere in particular. Seems to be navigating the city pretty well on her own. She says, interesting. That is... I do not know that I have heard of an exact instance like that. There are some tribes in my homeland that have shaman who can guide you on experiences that sound perhaps similar, but they are rarely so specific as that. She says, I do not know if what you saw was truly your friend, or something perhaps that looked like your friend to her. It is very hard to say with these matters of magic and the way they interact with the mind. But whatever this experience was, it sounds like it was very helpful to you in a time that you needed it most.
Mm-hmm.
I find that it is best not to fret over much about these things. It helped you, and that is good enough, at least for now. She kind of shrugs. She says, I apologize that I cannot be more help.
It's okay. Thank you for your advice.
And she continues on. She kind of asks you guys, about yourself. Walter, she asks some questions about, your family. Where you grew up, what, I don't know how specific you are when she starts asking about, how'd you set off on this little adventure.
I'm a little unclear about that part, but otherwise open about my family and family's history in Diamond Vale.
Okay. So you guys walk for a little while. Similarly, you guys see that you're actually real close to it now because you're the Hall of Law is right up the steps from the plaza where you guys are in the guild ward. You guys see that dark kind of navy colored smoke, and she says, the first stop is to the Enclave Arcana. She says, I have some things to drop off and some supplies to pick up.
Should we be concerned about navy smoke coming from the wall building?
Is there navy smoke?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, someone has died.
Oh.
Told you. It's dead.
She says, the Navy smoke is used to signal the city when someone of importance within the government passes on.
I'm gonna look around like when she says that and see if anybody's like reacting at all to the smoke.
Similar to Brahm's experience, you seem like the smoke has probably been going on for a bit, so it's like
as far as
people are aware of it, but nobody is like. I mean, there's not like people like weeping in the streets or anything like that. It's like you figure if the king had died, you would know it,
right.
Probably. So people seem to be aware of it, but you get the impression that at this point it's like kind of become the background of whatever's going on. And Namara tells you they will usually run the smoke for several days after someone has passed. I do not tend to involve myself in many of the affairs of the city, and obviously I cannot see it, so I did not know until now. I do not know who died. Perhaps
would you like us to ask for you?
She says, if it would satisfy your curiosity, I would not hurt me to have the knowledge, but it is of little difference to me either way. Excuse me, Walter, what?
I mean, we left for a couple of days and we come back and there's smoke that's been going on since after we left. I'm just a little paranoid sometimes. It's okay.
She nods. Well, I suppose a little paranoia would is not always a bad thing.
Where I come from, it helps you survive.
Kind of nods. Meanwhile, back at Alar and Tori and Adrian. Similarly, you're just like walking and talking with Tori and Adrian. He's asking you some questions, just about how things have been going with the.
I tell him basically the events of Trolleyweather Manor. Happen to glance up. Are you acquainted with the traditions of the city? When we left, that was not occurring.
He looks and says, "Oh yes." He says they light that smoke when someone has passed. He says, "I'm afraid I don't know the exact specifics. I've been rather busy, but a member of Parliament died a few days ago."
Well, that's... I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing. I don't know anything about the...
Says, I suppose that depends on which one it was and what his policies were, but...
Let's hope it wasn't the one we know.
Hey, you hear a loud winking sound from across the city, Matt Brom's direction.
So as you guys are walking, talking, this is your opportunity to ask him questions if you have any you want to ask to him.
How did you get into this?
Talent scouting is an easy term.
That's probably the best, and would have taken me quite some time to come up with that. How did you come to?
So well, yes, I've been at it a long time, and to be honest with you, the Ordinum is, in many ways, I consider something of a side project to my true passion. But when you have a talent in the arcane geared in the ways that I do, you often find how best to apply that skill in a way that does the world some good as well as fills your own pockets. The Ordinum pay quite well for me to find skilled individuals to help the cause.
So you're not technically a member? Or?
Oh no! I am a member, but it's a little complicated. I have my own interests, of course. He says no, but the majority of my work does revolve around the Ordinum and finding competent young bold adventurers like yourselves and your group to scour the land for lost information.
Were you a relic hunter before getting into this?
He kind of gives that some thought, and he says, in a way, I guess you could say that. Perhaps not in the traditional sense. But I've lived a varied and interesting life. And he says, well then here we are. And you notice you're in front of a courier station.
Excellent.
He says, well, now that I've talked your ear off and we've made our little journey, I shall bid you good day.
I thought you had business here.
I just remembered I sent that letter yesterday. Silly of me. What a happy accident that I should be so forgetful and bump into you. I wouldn't have had a chance to have this charming conversation otherwise.
Well, I consider it a most fortuitous coincidence, and thank you again for your assistance.
He nods and kind of begins to move away from you. He picks up. There's like a fruit vendor. He picks up an apple off the cart and hands a couple of copper to the man at the stall. And he kind of turns back as you're heading into the courier's station. He says, "Ayla." He looks at you for like a couple of moments, and you see that that sort of like bemused expression he always has on. It drops like a half a degree, and he says, "Ayla, do be careful out there. You and the others. These are strange times." And without another word, he turns and he starts to walk away, and he gives a snap of his fingers, an emotion that you're very familiar with, having done it a bazillion times, summoning your own familiar. And a raccoon appears at his feet. He hands it the apple, and the pair vanish around the corner.
All right, I will head in. Find out what the going rate to send a small parcel to a town near Talmarch on the Glindian-Ignian border is.
Sure. Easy enough. Just a couple of 18 silver to send a parcel.
I will break out the parcel, check the letter that I have minted up, the letter to Lars' dear mommy, under an assumed name, and which contains a bit of gold and a few other supplies, and pay the agreed upon sum.
Alrighty.
I'm sending her 30 gold pieces.
30 gold. All right. Sent to. Let's see. Oh, thank you.
Those are
Cool. Alrighty, and this is, as you had said, this is Kara Raxus Thorn.
yes.
Okay. Alrighty, so you send that parcel off, and you are able to conduct your business. Kel, after you received your letter, are you doing anything today? Or are you waiting things out?
I'm probably just going to read today and then head over tomorrow.
Alrighty. Braun. Still looking for puppet stuff, sort of unsuccessfully. After a while, the sense that you're being watched sort of fades. Still like a little uneasy, but you can continue to go about your business. What would you like to do? Try a different portion of the market for more puppet stuff?
I am going to cut down like an alley.
Okay.
Make a sharp turn right an alley, and then just up against the wall and wait.
Okay, cool. Roll a stealth check.
Please just knife the next person who walks by.
Grandma, no.
Oh, it's in that one.
Oh. All right, so
Or you just like stop.
Walked into the corner.
While Brahm does that, Walter and Nula, you guys with Namara arrive at the Enclave Arcana, which is, for all intents and purposes, the essentially like the Mages Guild of Niviria. It is a larger building than the one that the Adventurers or the Relic Hunters Guild is in. It has had like white facade put up on it to make it look like magely. But by and large, you go in, and once you're in the building, it looks kind of like more pedestrian than you had been expecting.
Not as like bad as the DNV, but like...
not as bad as the DNV. It's a one-story building, but it's kind of like sprawling. The part that you enter into, you can see is a sort of a main reception area. Further in, it looks like there's a lot of like sort of like workshop-y type space, as well as some other things. And there is a desk off to the side with a sign that says requisitions. And Namara heads over to that, and there's a man sitting behind the counter who she greets. She says, "Good morning." And the man says, Mr. Tumba, good to see you. He says, I've got that delivery of spell components that the collective had placed. She says, spectacular. And I have, she reaches into her robes, and she pulls out some paperwork. I have the paperwork on the necromantic wand. All of the permit information should be in order for us to keep it in our laboratory to study it. If you would be a dear and turn that in for me. And he kind of smiles ruefully at her. He says, Mr. Tumba, you know that I'm not supposed to be fast-tracking your paperwork like this, but... no, I can't say no to you. He says, very well, I'll handle it, and let me gather your things. I'll be right back. And he kind of gives you, both of you guys, sort of a polite nod. He disappears behind the counter. He comes back a couple of minutes later with just like a couple of, like an armful of like small packages and bundles, which he goes about like putting in Namara's little wagon.
I will help her.
That's right. It kind of loads it up. He says, is there anything else that I can do for you today, Mr. Tumba? He says, no, I think that will be all. And she turns her head sort of in your guys' direction. Is there anything that either of you require from the Enclave Arcanum stores?
I am certain on the lookout for healing potions, but beyond that, I don't know if that's a good place. Or a way to make my own.
He says, well, I think we've got a few in stock. If you're interested in buying, you could also, if you need a larger supply, I would check with the Alchemists Guild, but if you need a handful, I think we have some in the stock rooms currently.
Sure, that sounds suitable.
Okay, and potions of healing cost. I have a whole thing listed there. There it is. So potions of healing, 50 gold per potion. How many are you in the market for?
I don't quite have as much as I would like, but if you'd be willing to do 40 each, I would like to buy 3.
He says, I'm afraid I am not able to negotiate on prices of guild material.
Would the Alchemist Guild allow me to purchase materials to make my own?
If you were so inclined, I'm sure you could purchase a kit to try and brew your own, yes.
Do you need coin?
I mean, I would...
How many?
I would like to buy enough to wear each have one, but at this point, I suppose I could afford 2 myself.
How much did we get from
83.
83?
But at this point, I'd probably just buy 1, so I don't know how much the materials are going to cost.
Okay. Yeah, you can buy one.
I will give you enough to buy 2.
Okay, sure.
So it's 50.
All right. So you guys purchase 2 healing potions.
The regular healing potions are
Regular.
healing potions.
2d4 plus or whatever it is. Healing potion of healing. Standard potion of healing. 2d4 plus 2. Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, if I can stop at the alchemist to pick up the equipment to brew my own, and spend the next couple of days brewing something.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have that. That can be handled off screen. It's easy enough to do. All right. So as you guys kind of head out, Namara says, "It is the Bakers Guild next."
The Baker's Guild.
Yes, the Bakers Guild.
That sounds delicious.
She says, "Oh, it is." She says, "You will smell the building about 2 blocks before we get to it."
Back at Dorset,
Oh my God, you smell
Ronnie
the
just suddenly goes,
I smell a building.
I need it.
And you guys you continue on. Meanwhile, Brahm, you are knocking dice everywhere. You hastily get into an alleyway and go to conceal yourself, and you get behind some stuff in a doorway. You kind of and you're waiting. You wait a while. You wait about 5 minutes. You kind of peek out. You're waiting, and as you're looking the way that you came to try and see if somebody's following you from the other side of you, you hear the distinctive of a crossbow being loaded, and a voice says, "Don't move."
Crap.
"Put your hands where I can see them. Step into the center of the alleyway." So you kind of do this. As you do, you can see about 10 feet down the alleyway, there is a figure. They are wearing a hooded cloak. It is emerald green and drawn low over their face. And of course, there is a hand crossbow pointed at you. You don't get a good look as you're, facing away under duress. But the size of the figure and the voice indicates to you that it is a female. Probably human. At the very least, they're smaller than you. They're not, they're not big. It's not like an orc or something like that. And as this crossbow is pointed at your back, the voice continues and says, "I'm going to ask you some questions, and you are going to answer them. Do we understand each other?"
Yeah.
"If I don't like your answers, if I think you are lying to me, I'm going to shoot you. Do you understand that?"
Yep.
Okay. There is a brief pause, and the figure says, "What is your name?"
My name is Brahm.
Brahm what?
Brahm Repluck.
All right, Brahm Repluck. What was the nature of your relationship with Member of Parliament Cartwright Delka?
My relationship? I didn't really have much of a relationship. I only met the guy once.
Okay. When you met the guy once, what was your business with him?
I had to give him a package. I don't know what it was. I don't ask those sort of questions. I just had to give it to him.
You gave him a package and you don't know what was in it.
Yep.
What did you talk about?
Nothing really. I essentially gave him a package and he said, thanks.
Make a deception check.
We're going to use that die again. There we go. That's better. It'll be a 24.
Okay. from behind you, you hear pause, but like there is, you can kind of hear this person sort of breathing, like getting kind of frustrated. And she says, "Well, who hired you to bring this package? What is the nature of this delivery that you had to bring this item to him?"
What do you mean? What is I do things for people. That's my job. Sort of like favors.
Who were you doing this favor for? This package you brought?
I was doing it for some guys from, what was the last town we were in?
Where you picked up the package?
Yeah.
Woodpine.
I was doing it for some guys in Woodpine. I don't know. They gave me some coin. Told me to bring it to this guy because I was on my way here. Some Weasley clerk guy in the county office.
What guy? What was his name?
His name was... I don't remember his name. I honestly don't remember.
You don't have to roll a perception check, because I know that's true.
Wait, I might have it written down.
I just imagine him like.
I was actually like, wait, I might have it written down.
As he whips out a
A
clipboard
little
from
black
nowhere.
book.
And a powder wig.
Okay, I do have it written down, but now I'm going to. Now that I know what it was, some guy named Doblin Fort, I think, something like that.
There is a...
I don't know, my handwriting's real shit here.
You can hear, like, the sound of her, like, sucking on her teeth. She's like, again with the fake names. Fine. This has been extremely unproductive.
That's what most women say to me.
I have one final question for you, Mr. Bram Repluck, who delivered a package to Cartwright Delca, who didn't know what was in it, who doesn't know who hired him or why. After you delivered that package, did you go back to that estate the next day? And did you kill Member of Parliament Cartwright Delca?
Whoa, he's dead? Oh, no, I did not.
There is another kind of pause, and you hear what sounds like maybe the crossbow shaking a little bit in the hand, and she says, This is all wrong. You were there. You went to his daughter's party, and you delivered that package. You had a conversation with him, and he was not right after that. And the day after, you have to know something. Tell me something.
All right. I don't know a lot, but I do know what was in that package.
What was in that package?
I'm just gonna say that it was nothing that he should be dead over. I don't think.
No, that doesn't make sense. I know that he had that conversation with you in his study. Something was wrong after that.
I don't think I have written down what her name was.
Who?
His daughter.
Tabitha Delker.
I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna look. Tabitha.
You turn around and it is indeed Tabitha Delker beneath the hood. She's like halfway lowered the crossbow at this point. She seems to be not super professional at
Yeah.
stalking people into alleys.
Here's the thing. I'm real sorry about your dad. At this point, I'm also kind of interested in what happened to him, so why don't we put the crossbow down, and then we'll look into this together.
She kind of lowers it another half a degree, and she says, "They're saying that he killed himself. And he didn't."
What makes you say that?
She's kind of looks at you. She's kind of seems to be deciding whether or not she wants to, like, continue speaking with you. And she says, "They say he killed himself because he was found in his study in the morning by one of the servants. It looked like he had hung himself. But I know that he would never do that. And furthermore, I have proof. He wore a ring on his right hand, gold with a ruby in it. He never took it off. Never. That ring was gone, Mr. Brom Repluck. I looked everywhere. He didn't take it off. It's not in the house. Someone took it. Someone killed him and made it look like he committed suicide. And I need to find out who. Do you understand this? And you, whatever you were involved in with my father, it's connected, I know it." And she's, she's trying to hold it together, but you see she's starting to lose it a little at this point.
All right. That definitely sounds believable, and I definitely believe you. And there seems to be a lot bigger things here than I think either of us realize. So it's probably in it for both of our best interest if we start doing some detective work here.
She kind of nods. She says, "So, you know more than you had said about what was in the package. What else were you not clear on? Who sent the package? Why? What, do you know anything?"
First things first, this is probably not a conversation that should be had in an alley in the middle of the ass end of town.
So it looks around. Fair enough.
I do have a place we can go with people who we can trust. Who, well, you know the people I'm talking about. They were there too. Who will probably be able to help things better than just me and you in this fucking alley right now.
That's the name of this episode.
She
That's what it's 2 G's. F-U-G-G-I-N.
she nods. She says, "Very well. Finding you was the only lead I had. So I'm going to choose to trust you, because I don't know what else to do at this point. Mr. Repluck, I sincerely hope that this decision is a wise one. You are not simply a better actor than I'm giving you credit for. Your performance with the powdered wig would suggest otherwise, but I don't wish to end up at the end of a rope.
That's all part of the shtick. The crappier it is, the less suspicious people are, because they assume nobody would be that shitty at it.
She sort of shakes her head. She says, "You should perhaps rethink that strategy. It was not very difficult for me to track you down. Regardless, fine. For the answers that I need about what happened to my father, I can trust you at least this far. Where do you want me to meet?"
28 Dorset Street.
28 Dorset. What ward? I knew you didn't know. Gotcha, bitch.
This one right here, it's over here.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure it's the forest.
This is the forest lord.
It's the one on the left.
She kind of nods and starts to back away from you out of the alley. She says, "Very well. I will meet you there. When? Tonight?
Whenever's good for you.
Tonight, then, after sunset." She kind of backtracks out of the alleyway, and at the last second, you see her stow her hand crossbow and flits around the other side. You are left alone in the alleyway.
Well, that's the first time I've ever been threatened by somebody who forgot to put a bolt in the crossbow.
Why don't we take our break? Let's.
The plot thickens.
The plot does thicken. Let's take about a 5-minute break and then come back here and continue the remainder of our intermission episode. I don't know how to do anything. Hey there, everyone. Matt Palmieri here, your host and Dungeon Master. Thank you for joining us for tonight's episode of Tabletop Legends. I hope that you're enjoying the show so far. I know I am. While myself and the rest of the gang are refilling our drinks, stretching our legs, and relieving ourselves of the pee that we've been holding in for the last 2 hours, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about our sponsors here at Proficiency Bonus. First up is Little Dragon Corp. Little Dragon Corp are purveyors of fine gaming dice, as well as all sorts of other tabletop gaming goodies. They've got a huge selection of polyhedral dice you can choose from, and prices that you couldn't shake a stick at even if you had a +1 stick of shaking at your disposal. They recently released their line of Birthstone dice. They have new metal dice sets available, and they are constantly coming out with new products. If, unlike Becca, who we have to physically restrain from buying dice on stream once a week during our ad read, D&D dice are not your thing, they have definitely got some other cool stuff you can get your hands on. They've got spell cards, they've got gaming accessories, they have a whole bunch of other tabletop style games that you can order right to your door. If you want to check them out, you can type !Little Dragon into the Twitch chat at any time for a quick link to their store. Or just go to your favorite web browsing apparatus and you can go to www.littledragoncorp.com. And remember, if you do purchase anything, tell them we sent you. You can use the code BONUS at checkout for 10% off your order. If you'd like to buy, 11 sets of dice, it would be like one of them would be free. That's probably not how math works, but, don't think about it too hard. And, go check them out. LittleDragonCorp.com for all of your sweet dicey needs. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Marble Moon Studio in the 8th House. They are an independently owned, ethically sourced, witchy lifestyle and home goods shop. Their goal is to support small businesses and create a safe, inclusive space/community for witchy folks. They've got just a ton of super cool merchandise that you can order online, including the widely popular Tabletop Legends Magic AF D20 mug. But hey, it's just not all mugs over there. It's not just they're not an entire store filled with mugs. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with stores filled with mugs. If you're a mug store, I mean, that's a great business plan and good for you. And call me. We'll set up a sponsorship. But Marble Moon Studio in the 8th House, well, they've got way more than that. They've got all sorts of things. They've got wall art. They've got candles. They've got apparel. I mean, you don't need to listen to me just list off a bunch of random products off of their site. You can take a look at the sweet montage that I'm probably going to edit into the background of this audio. Better yet, just go to their website. You can look for yourself and not have me read it to you like an idiot. You can find them online at either marblemoonstudio.com or shopthe8thhouse.com. I've met both of the ladies who run this business in person. They're awesome. They're awesome people. You need to go buy things from them right now. Thank you, Marble Moon Studio and the 8th House, for supporting us and our silly Dungeons & Dragons mess around. We love you, and, hit me up about a cut of that sweet mug money. Hey, if you'd like to sponsor an episode of Tabletop Legends, maybe you want to give a shout out to your website, your business, or a podcast of your very own, you can do that. Send an email to tabletoplegendsdnd@gmail.com. That's tabletoplegendsd, the letter N, D, @gmail.com. And, you know, it doesn't just have to be a business. Maybe you want to promote, I don't know, maybe you just, like, you're really good at kickflips, and you want people to know that. You can do that. Maybe you have a friend, and you know your friend watches the show, and you want to hear me call him a two-headed fart baby over the internet. We can do that. Send me an email. We'll work something out. Maybe you've been working up the courage to ask out the girl you like, and you just can't bring yourself to do it. Why not pay a podcast host to do it for you? I don't see how it couldn't work. Send us a message at tabletoplegendsdnd@gmail.com, and all of your dreams can come true, no matter how ridiculous they are. Well, anyway, that's all I've got from you. I have talked long enough. Please enjoy the ear candy, sweet sounds of our royalty-free background music for another few minutes or so until we return for the rest of our episode. Thank you. I love you. I didn't mean to say it, but there it is. Now it's out there. We have to deal with this now. But we'll deal with it after the rest of the show. All right, we are back.
Yo!
Back, and we have sound. For the first time since we made our new rig, we didn't forget to turn the sound back on when we came back from break.
I am absolutely not taking responsibility for that. That was not my fault.
No, it was mostly my fault.
Maybe do.
What?
No,
What?
absolutely not. You are
Pop
not.
He wasn't here for Pop Rocks and Weird Jerky. We did a...
All the jerky's gone. One of them was way worse.
Thank God.
Which one
Which one was worse?
The buffalo one. Of all
Really?
things. Yeah, because it had air in it, and when I opened
Air?
it,
Oh.
when I opened it, it was it wasn't jerky. It was just
So it was
sad
like
meat and
Buffalo
rancid.
air!
The scent of the air that comes off of a buffalo.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, actually, pretty much.
There's a guy just standing next to a buffalo with a Ziploc. Like, got it! Put it on the internet for $20.
Please let him be wearing a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Nope, just overalls. No shirt, no shoes, just overalls.
Oh.
So there is no
What?
Pop Rocks?
Wait a minute! I'm not doing this shit tonight.
What?
What?
You said Pop Rocks too many times, you made the DM mad. Oh, it was the light.
It's the other thing I always friggin' forget to do. Turn off our light out there. Okay.
Oh no. What is this?
It's totally normal Pop Rocks.
It's called Volcano Poppin' Candy.
It's totally normal Pop Rocks.
Yes.
It's definitely absolutely normal Pop Rocks.
I know it sounds like he's being sarcastic, but he's not. They're really just normal
I, was
Pop
gonna say,
Rocks.
I don't even like normal Pop Rocks.
Actually, just strawberry Pop Rocks.
I find them.
We were very disappointed. We
Horrifying.
thought they were going to be horrible, and they weren't, which is no fun.
How can you name something volcano and not have it be hot?
Yeah, that I expected.
I guess I'm gonna have to do
I expected
this.
more.
But they're from Hawaii, so.
Guys, he's going for it. He's gonna do it.
We got him.
Again, to be fair, I hate regular Pop Rocks in general. So.
So
Just
while
try soda.
while he does that, we return as the group is kind of split up around the city doing
Still creepy.
Yep, creepy. The party is split up around the city of Niviria. Kel is currently back at 28 Dorset Street reading his books, but has received a very weird, maybe sort of coded message from Archivist Bertram Flick, his buddy at the Mythlindian Royal Library, along with an almost completed.
Oh, it's like an army of bugs in my own
All right,
skull.
pull it together.
We're gonna get through this, man. I don't know why I did this. Oh, every time I swallow, it gets worse.
That's what she said.
Shut up. I'll punch you in the esophagus. No, I'm good.
Oh no.
Alar has had a coincidental run-in with Nivirian, which, as always, in their interactions with him, seemed like it was 100% on purpose on Nivirian's point. But they just sort of had a kind of a conversation. Nivirian asked him a bunch of questions about how the group had been doing with the the collective and their employment so far. And then he gave a weird cryptic warning about be careful, it's weird out there, and left. Pop Rocks McGillicuddy over here unsuccessfully hunted for puppet parts, got held up by a 16-year-old girl with a crossbow, but did learn that apparently Member of Parliament Cartwright Delker, who the group had an interaction with and delivered a package on behalf of Brahm's organization, and was quite distressed over said package, has now ended up dead. Apparently by suicide, but not to the eye of his daughter, who is convinced that he was assassinated, and tracked Brahm down for information. Meanwhile, while that was going on, Walter, Nuala, and Namara are going to the Baker's Guild! Yeah! So we'll pick up with you guys as you arrive at the Baker's Guild. And as promised, you are able to smell the building about a block before you get to it. And you basically, I assume Nuala's feet come off the ground and she wafts on a smell of baking bread towards this building. The building is fairly decently sized. It has essentially it's looks like a bunch of buildings that have been attached to each other. There's a zillion chimneys coming off of it, all of which you see rows of smoke coming out, and the smell of baked goods just permeates the whole area. Namora leads you guys around to sort of the back of the building to what is sort of a loading area. And she brings you over towards the area where there's some double doors that lead into the building proper. And there's a man there who is going about you see him stacking up crates that contain various breads and things like that. And as Namara approaches, he looks up and he gives a smile and he says, "Ah, Namara, good to see you." And she grins. She says, "Ah, good afternoon, Muldoon. What do you have for me today?" And he says, "Oh, you picked the right day to come here, Mr. Tumba." He says, "Oh, I've got probably about 24." He says, "Oh, splendid." She says, "If you would be so kind, my friend here has my wagon. Could you put them in for me?" He says, "Oh, of course, of course." He says, usual rate." He says, "Naturally," and begins to reach into her purse. And over the next couple of minutes, he goes about. He kind of goes back in, and he comes out with a little yay-sized crate that he puts into Namara's wagon. And you guys can see that it is filled with a whole bunch of rolls that are a little bit burnt, just a little. I'll lay down. And as he's kind of going about this, he's sort of just talking almost to himself. But he says, "Oh, yep, we got a whole bunch of them today." He says, all the dogs are just scratching everything. It's distracting everyone, and no one can bake their bread properly.
No one can bake their bed properly.
They can't talk. They can't focus. But God damn it, if those dogs aren't going to have the most comfortable patch of floor anyone's ever seen. Hey, lay down. Thank you. He says, "Hey, all of the apprentices that..."
To be fair, Olive has incredible comedic timing.
God damn it. It's funny.
And she didn't even lay down after all that.
She just got up and left. Yeah. He says, all of the apprentices, they're all in some sort of a tizzy today. Somebody, he's like, I don't know. Somebody's girl was seen out at the taverns last night with somebody else. Who knows? None of them are focusing, and they burned half their rolls today. He says, but good that they don't go to waste. She says, of course. She hands him a couple of copper pieces for the this crate of bread. She says, thank you, Muldoon. I will see you again in a few days. Says, sure thing, Mr. Toomba. He says, oh, you know what? Wait. He kind of looks at both of you guys. He says, I've got something. And he runs inside. He comes out a minute later, and he has 3 loaves of bread in his hands, about yay big each. He hands one to you, he hands one to you, and he hands one to Namara. They are warm in your hands, as if they just came out of the oven. And he says, this is something we've been cooking up here. It is a cheddar and pepper loaf. He says, just came out of the oven. He says, not going to get any fresher than that. He says, on the house.
Thank you.
And she says, thank you, Muldoon. For her part, she pulls a cloth out of her bag and kind of wraps her loaf up and puts it in with her little wagon. Neela's like,
Very going unhinges.
it is fantastic. The bread is warm. It is fresh. There is a cheese baked in
Is it
throughout.
like pepper the seasoning or
no?
pepper
It's
the
like
vegetable?
a jalapeno cheddar loaf of bread, and it is fantastic.
A few sparks come out of your mouth.
Is it gluten free? I have an allergy.
Get out.
No.
Walter is chased from the premises of the Bakers Guild with rolling
Come
pins.
to D&D where you get to create a perfect character of your however you want it, and you still put in a gluten intolerance. Piece
We're all
of
about
shit.
representation here.
That in
He says, oh, actually, the gluten-free Bakers Guild is across the street, and there's just a ramshackle dump.
Is that the meat guy?
in D&D 8E, you're gonna have to roll whether your character is gluten intolerant or not when you roll a character.
Goodness. So Mara leads you guys on from the Bakers Guild, and you head back out of the whatchamacallit there? The guild ward. South into, not back into the forest ward you came from, but into the south ward, which is the one outside there. And she kind of just you're not really sure where she's going at this point. She's just going along her merry way into a so the south ward, you guys haven't explored a ton of the city yet, but the north and south ward, which are these two, are definitely the poorest portions of the city. And the part of the south ward that she is leading you to is particularly rough looking. Most of the buildings are run down. There's a lot of buildings are boarded up. The people that you see on the street look to be sort of vagrant-esque. And she eventually leads you down a sort of a spooky alley. And all of a sudden just stops walking. And she's sort of in this kind of back alley space between several buildings that is fairly wide open for a space behind buildings, but is also pretty sheltered from the area around. And she just stops, and then she just is waiting.
I will check behind us, but also get closer to Namora in case someone's gonna jump out.
Sure. So you kind of sidle up on her, and she's
Far more relaxed than he's saying, Mr. Toomba, I am very curious as to how you experience this world.
She says, well, I have some ways. My other senses are much more heightened after I lost my sight. And of course, and she gestures to the tattoos on both of her arms and up her neck and see up her forehead. She says, there is a certain sense of the world woven into the enchantments on my tattoos. It does a decent job of helping me to avoid a lot of minor obstacles. And of course, I have been in the city for some time. And I've learned my way around fairly well.
Will probably never cease to be fascinating to watch you.
She kind of chuckles. She says, well, I am happy that I can be entertaining at least, but tilts ahead. She says, quiet for a moment and try to be still. They can be timid. And as she says that, you begin to hear some like movement coming from like around the various corners and nooks and crannies of this little alleyway. At which point we will jump back over to Alar. You dropped your letter off. You're on your way back.
I am retracing my steps. I'm
Sure.
curious to see whether that silver coin is.
Sure. So you retrace your steps back to that silver coin, and here is the scene that you witness. As you round that corner, you're kind of thinking on your conversation with Adrienne. You're thinking like, man, that thing with the coin was weird. What a weird guy. And you sort of round this corner onto the street where you first bumped into him, where you saw him do this thing with this coin. And as you're in the street, it's a fairly busy street. There's people, carts, just kind of going about their business. However, a cart a little ways away from you hits like a pothole in the street, and you hear there is a loud like crack as the axle on the cart breaks, and the cart gives a hard lurch just this way, and a fairly sizable cask comes tumbling out of the back of this cart. And it all happens so quickly that you just kind of watch this happen. This cask tumbles out. There's like everybody in the streets like, oh, people kind of move, jump, scatter out of the way as this thing falls out of the cart, bounces once, and then like goes on a roll and just begins like caroming down the street. People are like moving out of the way as it comes past, and what you see is, as this barrel is like going down the street, on the side of the road, coming out of a building, is a boy, perhaps 9-ish, walking out unaware, as children are. He's engrossed in his children thoughts. Does not see that this cask is like hurtling right in his direction. He steps to the edge of the street, about to like go out and cross, and he stops and he looks down and he goes, ah! And he reaches down, and as he does, the barrel goes whoosh past him by like 3 inches, continues down to like the end of the street and smashes into a wall, and like wine just goes everywhere, and the kid stands up like and he kind of looks, and he's like, huh. And in his hand is that single silver piece.
Yeah, I've been preparing to cast Mage Hand to try and shove him back, however useless that would have been.
And this kind of commotion sort of settles. The kid, like, with the unshakable confidence of not quite understanding that he almost got flattened by a runaway cast, the kid, like, happily tucks his silver piece away and just goes off on his children business.
No.
Hashtag children business.
Hashtag children business.
No. Right? No. Huh. He couldn't. No.
She just walked over here and unplugged my computer again.
Side note, the table cam is stroking out.
The table cam. Oh.
I even tried to do that, and it just keeps focusing and unfocusing. I tried sticking my hand in.
Oh, it's too far away, and it's trying to focus on very fine details.
Let's
place a mini.
throw my player's handbook there. See if that fixes it. There we go.
Should I leave that there?
Yeah. So instead of enjoying the city map that it took me literally dozens of hours to make, you can look at my dirty player's handbook cover.
Yeah, I don't know if it was doing that before, but I just noticed it now.
Arcana.
Sure.
I have no idea how in the name of Mistra he pulled that off. I roll crap.
Probably wouldn't have mattered. It was you get the impression that it was something super magical somehow.
Right. Toss a copper at a shopkeeper. Pick up a bit of fruit.
All right.
And,
off you go with a
Yep,
great deal.
and,
A great deal to think about.
and pick up a the equivalent of meat on a skewer from another place and crunch up a scooter so he can enjoy some.
As soon as you have the thought about getting meat, the guy comes out of an alleyway. Omaha Steaks! We don't need to get into that. Easy enough. So you're able to do that and kind of make your way back. Anything else you need to do with your outing there, Brahm, after you're heading back? Okay. So we'll wrap up with you two guys, and then everybody can reconvene. So, in the alleyway, you begin to hear things, and a moment later, you see a pair of eyes, about 3 feet off the ground, leans around a corner. And then another, and another. And about a dozen children begin to emerge. They are clearly like street children. They are dirty. They are in, tattered rags, a lot of them. A lot of them don't even seem to have shoes. But they look healthy, at least. And they come out. They are clearly extremely suspicious of you, too. Namara has clearly heard them, obviously. She says, "Come now, these are my friends. It is okay. I have bread today. Come." And after a few moments, these children's interest in bread overwhelms their trepidation about strange adults. And pretty quickly they come up, and you guys are kind of like surrounded by a sea of like urchin children that appear to be ranging anywhere from like the oldest of them are maybe like 12, 13. Some of them look as though they could be as young as like 6. Some of them are pretty young. And they all kind of come up to her, and you hear over and over again these children all are referring to her as Granny No-No over and over again. And she pulls up the little wagon, she goes into that crate, and she starts giving them these rolls. She seems to know all of their names. And as they come up, she has this exchange that she repeats with them. She gives them a bread. She says, "Tell me 3 things you learned today." And they will rattle off. This sort of call and response seems to be familiar. They rattle off. Mostly, it's like inane things like, "Oh, I saw a dog today," or, there was a man who lost his hat. Things like that. She sort of seems to pay attention to all of it with equal interest, sort of listening to them. One boy comes up, and you guys can see he's got like a split lip, and it's like a little swollen. She comes up, and he hands out a roll, and he says, "Thank you, Granny No-No." And she like pulls back the bread. And she goes, "Rupat, why do you sound like that? What happened to your face?" And he kind of like casts his eyes down. He says, "Nothing. Nothing is fine." And she says, "Nula, Rupat sounds like he has a split lip. Is Rupert lying to me? And he, like, looks at you like...
Oh, she said Nula. I thought she said another kid's name.
Nula? Is Rupert lying to me?
He does appear that he could use the paladin's healing.
She says, indeed. Rupert, what happened to your lip? And he kind of squirms for a minute and he says, I was trying to take some coins from somebody's purse and I got thumped. He goes, How are you doing it? Show me. She stands up and, like, turns slightly away from him. And he kind of, like, looks to you guys. And, like, to her and to you guys. He's like, come on. I don't have all day.
He's gonna, like, gesture at her. Just like...
And he, like, reaches over and you see he goes to, like, untie her, like, her coin purse. And at a certain point, he, like, slightly jostles, like, her belt strings a little bit, and she goes, smacks him, and she goes, no. She says, that is why you got caught. You need to be more careful. He says, it is dangerous. He says, I know. He says, well, if you're going to be a thief, you should at least be a good one. Be more careful next time, dear. She hands him the roll, and she says, would you like my friend to help you with your lip? And he kind of looks at you, and he goes, what's she gonna do?
And I will kneel down and do...
So as you, like, reach for him, he, like, way backs up away from you. And she kind of has to, like, stop him. She says, Rupert, it is okay. She says, look there. And she gestures vaguely at you where, like, the insignia on your outfit is. She's blind. She does miss it a little bit. But she points at you and says, do you see that symbol? She says, do you know what it means? Kind of shakes his head. And she, like, gestures at you to, like, elaborate for him.
Means that I can help people. Help people if they get hurt.
You can help my face? What do you want?
Nothing.
He looks highly suspicious of this. And he kind of looks towards Namara for guidance, who doesn't notice him giving her this glance, but she can't see him.
Nua, my hometown's not much different than this place. Charge him what he has in his pocket.
He kind of looks, he says, and he rips his bread in half, and he offers you half of his bread.
I will take half the bread and heal his
Take the bread.
face.
You heal his face, and the other children are all like, "Whoa!"
Sweet high five.
A couple of them seem a little more like interested in you after that, so some of them kind of come around you. A good number of them just like take their bread and they're gone, like they just disappear.
I try to give him back the second half of his bread.
Eventually, you can get him to take it back. He's pretty impressed with your ability to heal his face. And this carries on for a little while, and eventually the kids kind of like have
Everyone
all finished
comes
this.
up and they're like, I gotta poo.
Once sort of everybody, all the children have gone through this ritual of telling the Mara what things they learned today, and getting their bread or whatever. Her crate is empty. All the kids have gotten some bread, and they head off. She just kind of stands up. Okay, I think we are done for today. Shall we?
As we turn to the old dancing lights, they just do a little light show for the remaining viewers.
Sure. So you kind of do that. You don't really.
Hey, kids, you like raves?
So you guys do that, and she begins to head back towards the forced ward for the where 28 doors it is.
I will ask her if the kids would be okay for the coming winter.
She kind of she nods, but you can tell she's sort of morose about the whole thing. She says, "They will be fine, most of them. It is part of life in the city. Children lose their parents, have nowhere to go. There are orphanages, but many of them are full. Many children find they do better on the street. I do what I can to help them."
In Rupert?
Says, "Rupert will either learn to be better at picking pockets, or he will get hit enough times that he stops trying, I suppose." She sort of shrugs. She seems less concerned about the objective morality of picking pockets.
Yeah.
She's kind of she's pretty. I mean, what's that?
It's a YOLO.
YOLO. It is a Walter would be very familiar with this sort of understanding of they do what they need to survive, and that is what it is.
Don't develop talent by staying home.
So at this point, I would say, unless anybody else has any individual stuff, we'll reconvene around dinner time as the group gets back to the apartments of the Collective of the Arcane Eye. Stanfield has prepared a feast with Ronnie's help, prominently featuring that wheel of cheese and all sorts of different dishes.
Is the feast actually just cheese?
No, because there's meats and all sorts of things. So no, it's quite the dinner. The Collective are all down there eating with you, and you guys can basically have the chance to sort of talk about your respective days. Some of you had a nice, lovely day. Some of you had a real shitty day. Some of you had a weird day. And the promise of the loot crate after dinner looms in the near future.
I wait for somebody to be drinking and go, "So Torian Indrian sends his regards."
What?
Ronnie goes, "What?" I don't know who that is. I've never met him before.
Wait. Thanks, Ronnie.
Where did you see him?
I had some business in the city, and he happened to run into me.
He happened to run into you on
The street.
I don't
a
think
random
he
street.
happens to do anything.
No, he most definitely does not happen.
Did you see the smoke?
Yes, I did. Apparently, it means that somebody important in the government, perhaps a member of parliament, passed away.
Did Torian have anything to do with it?
Do we have an alibi?
It apparently
I mean,
happened.
we weren't here.
They said it goes on for a couple days, and we've been away.
Well, it did. It wasn't going on when you guys left.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't.
We have a pretty firm alibi in that we were in another part of Mythland.
We have a whole town that'll vouch for us.
So side note about that smoke.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Wrong.
I know why there's that
I
smoke.
roll insight. No,
The paladin.
I think he's on the up and up. Besides,
I was with you guys the whole time.
You had the whole afternoon.
The smoke was going before.
Wrong.
Okay.
Do we have an alibi?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, blue smoke. Remember that guy's party we went to?
oh hell, not him.
Yeah, that guy's dead. Like real shady dead.
Wait. Mysterious circumstances dead.
Oh yeah. So I ran into his
How
daughter.
mysterious.
What's his daughter doing out?
And how did she find you?
Treehouse
it was very
imaginary
difficult to tell you
mysterious?
that. So,
Difficult.
yeah. So, I ran into her. She wanted some questions. She was all upset. So, he's dead. Apparent suicide, but she doesn't think it's a suicide. So, long story short, she's coming here. We're going to have a chat about it later.
Here.
You do it?
Yeah.
When?
Tonight.
Why would we meet her here?
Because I figured the type of conversation we were going to have
Yes,
was
Brahma.
not great in the...
Why would you meet her here?
Because this is a
Bro, I
safe...
found some real nice slums
This
the
is a
entire
safe
section away.
space, okay?
So Dimios kind of like holds up his hands and says, "All right, let me just ask one question, and then I will stay out of this conversation. Do I need to be concerned that my employees have assassinated a member of parliament?"
No, because we didn't do that.
All right.
The reason why I invited here is A, it's a safe space. B, I figured 3 goddamn wizards could be more insightful than maybe we would.
Can we come to a consensus right now that we should not invite people back to
Agreed.
our place
Just,
of residence?
Just plain agreed. I think I go back.
Seconded.
I've got a question. Who the hell is Carrie Dilker?
He was a member of parliament for the city.
And now he's a nice chandelier.
Our friend Rob had to deliver a package.
That's by far the worst thing that anyone has said on this show.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Rob, piece of advice. And I want you to go with me on this. Do not go with saying anything like that when his daughter arrives.
Duh!
Just get it out.
If you need to get it out of your system, now is the time.
I don't hate it.
I do.
So,
Does anyone else have earth-shattering news that they would like to?
Yes.
Great.
What does Moxon want with you now?
No, there's a really good deal on like shitty rolls that Namara like gives to children. So
That was just earth-shattering? That was just news!
he just called a
Shattered
guy a
Hollow-
chandelier that he offed himself. I'm trying to lighten the mood a little bit. I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
God,
but he
Rob.
didn't. It was murder. It was
How
murder.
do we know that it was murder?
Because apparently he's got some fancy schmancy ring that he never took off that was stolen.
Did he stow it somewhere?
Nope.
How do we know that?
Because I trust the girl.
Risky, but we'll go with it.
Does the description match even vaguely anything that we could happen to have on our person at this point in time?
Brom looks at his all his rings from
the
no.
ring. You guys actually did see
We
that
saw
ring.
it.
When he was meeting with you.
Wait,
It was
wait.
pretty nice. Your shitty costume.
Wait, that
rings
big
were-
ring on his right hand.
Yes.
He was like playing with it while you guys were talking to him.
No, that's way too distinctive. That's not something you steal lightly.
Is it a trophy?
Or it's from somebody outside the city.
Proof of.
You would not want to pawn something like that here. It'd be too identifiable.
Or it's proof that,
Proof that the job was done. Proof of his membership to something.
Oh, I guess we could wait until she gets here and ask her as many questions as possible. Meanwhile, I'm going to go pack my bags. Just in case.
I like that Walter is afraid of a 13-year-old girl.
16.
16-year-old girl.
It's not the 16-year-old girl that I'm worried about.
It's now she knows where we live.
Also,
Is she good
anybody
at being
who's
stealthy?
following her.
Yeah, Brom, is she good at being stealthy?
She good at keeping secrets?
I'm not this girl's BFF, alright?
You invited her home.
Alright, if we're gonna have no girls in the house rule, I think I wanna move. First of all.
Well, we're gonna have no girls in the house rule. I have some objections.
Yeah.
As does one of the owners of this fine establishment.
I am a woman, not a girl.
My
Thank
apologies. My apologies, Mr. Satumba.
She's just sort of like, whatever about all this. She seems relatively unfazed. She says, well, if anyone would like a diversion while we wait for Mr. Brom's friend, perhaps we should take a look at some of the items that I promised for the completion of successful missions. And Colin's like, oh, you're gonna do the loot crate? Oh, you guys got to see the loot crate. You're gonna love it. It's awesome. Oh, you've seen the loot crate already, haven't you? Shit. Hey, well, that's not as fun.
But hold on, you know what?
It's still cool. It's still cool.
Hold on. This is by far not the worst thing I've done. I don't understand why people are so pissed off that I tried to help a scared little girl. Okay? I didn't steal anything. I didn't murder anybody. The hell is wrong with you people?
You hear like a single off-tune violin note from upstairs somewhere at the sound of this.
Stanfield, you better not be playing my violin!
you hear like, I was dusting, sir!
Dust with your eyes! That's the title of the episode.
We'll leave that man alone. He made this incredible feat along with Ronnie. He is allowed to play that violin if he wants.
In any event, why don't we do the loot crate? Loot crate. It's a crate full of loot. It's the new loot crate jingle. Okay. So I'm gonna run this a little differently. Each of you are gonna roll a d20. And we'll go around the... Don't yell them all at me at once, or it's going to be real confusing. Okay, so let's go this way. So you guys settle in the parlor, and Namara has Stanfield bring out the loot crate, the extra dimensional space inside the loot crate. And she says, "Okay, Ayla, I had thought of this for you. Go ahead and roll your d20."
4.
She rummages in.
It's a fork.
She pulls out for you. She pulls out a small box, hands it to you. You open it up, and there's a ring inside of it. It is a plain. It looks like it's probably silver band. She said, "That is called a ring of good omen." Said, "It will help you against curses or other types of harmful magic." She says, "It is a fragile enchantment, which is why it is collecting dust inside our extra dimensional crate, but it might come in very handy in a pinch." So this is a ring of good omen. I gotta find. These are homebrewed magic items that I found online. I will find the source to them and we'll post it up somewhere. The Ring of Good Omen. The first time you fail a save against a curse or other magic, the ring breaks, and you instead make your save. Prom, go ahead. 17. She kind of smiles a little bit. She says, Perhaps this is a mistake after all, but..." She reaches in, and she bing, flicks you, and you catch a single gold coin. She goes, "What would you like the outcome of that coin flip to be?"
Heads.
Flip. And you flip, and it's heads.
It actually is heads.
There you go. She says, "Here, let me show you something else." She goes, "How about on the edge?" And she flips it and like lets it go, and it just goes and like lands on the coffee table between you, standing straight up like this.
Okay.
She goes, "I call it a cheetah's coin. It will land whatever way you want every time you flip it."
Thank you.
Oh,
I'm going to rip off so many people with this.
There's like I'm doing 2 thumbs up. There's like a mage hand with an extra thumbs up.
From one of the other chairs, Dimios is like, "Oh my god, what have we done?"
Hey, what do you want
When I
I'm
need to
just
leave the
picturing
room.
Copper Kettle just chortling.
Go ahead. What'd you roll, Walter?
I rolled 6.
6.
Mr. Dimius, I promise we will only use it for our personal benefit.
She goes, "I had something different for you, but you used a dancing light spell earlier, and this made me think of it." She reaches out. She hands you what appears to be.
flashlight.
It appears to be it's a bottle. It's about this big, and it attached, like affixed to the top of it, is like about a foot long chain. And she holds it up, and then she goes, swings it around over her head, and you see as it swings, the bottle like faintly begins to glow, and then she puts it down. The glow in the bottle stops, and she holds it out, and then pulls the stopper out of the top of it, and the entire bottle begins to glow with like an ambient light that exactly matches the light that's in the room for a couple, like 10-15 seconds, and then she stoppers it back and hands it over to you. She says, "I assume that was very impressive. I'm blind, I couldn't see it." She says, "It is a bottle of light." She says, "Swing it overhead and it will absorb the ambient light wherever you are. Later, unstopper, and the light comes back out again. I have not tried this practically, but I hear that certain kinds of light will retain certain properties." So, for your mechanical needs, the bottle of light can be swung overhead to absorb the ambient light, and then will hold that light until unstoppered later, and can hold up to 5 rounds of light. Special properties of the light are preserved. So, like, moonlight will induce lycanthropy in someone infected with lycanthropy. Sunlight will do what sunlight would do, negating darkness spells, disadvantage on creatures, like with like Underdark type creatures, and any other like special light that you might come across, I guess, on a case by case basis. Kel, you're next. What'd you roll?
I'm gonna use my golden d20 because I haven't rolled any dice yet.
Ooh,
It's,
nice. Okay, cool. That's a good one. Okay, she says, "Oh, see, this is very interesting." She pulls out a small wooden case. She hands it over to you, and you open it up, and it is a paint palette. There's multicolored paints in it. You see a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, like indigo, violet, the standard array of colors. There is one that appears to be empty. It's just a little like color well that is looks like it's empty. She says, "I call that the palette of all colors." She says, "All the normal ones if you want to paint a nice painting, but that last one there, it is not empty. It is a color that is invisible." She says, "Go ahead, paint a little on the table." So you like beep beep, and you just make a little circle on the table with your finger, and there is a
Smiley
see-through hole straight through the table. You can look right through it.
I feel like I'm going to get asked about this a lot.
She says,
You better only use that for good.
She says, I thought of everyone. This item was safest in your hands.
French Walters over here, like.
Brom's like, yeah.
As you sort of like, as you tap, the table is still solid.
Yep.
It's just like, it's been
Yeah.
rendered invisible. She says, it only works in small amounts.
What was that gonna do?
Too
Oh.
large an area and it becomes ineffective. So, this is the palette of all colors. It contains the 7 mundane colors, plus a color that is invisible. If the invisible color is painted on a wall or a surface, it allows people to see through it. It can paint up to a 3-inch diameter spot. Oh no, I'm sorry. It can paint up to a 3-foot diameter spot.
Oh, that's
Or
very different.
10 3-inch peepholes. It will penetrate no more than 6 inches through a solid object. And if you get it on somebody's face, they are blinded.
Wait, oh, you can blind people.
You
with
can,
it?
like, if you rub it on somebody's eyes, they can't see until it's washed off. What are you laughing about?
You said it can penetrate no more than 6 inches. I said just like Walter. Woo!
Alright, last but not least, Mila.
11.
11. She reaches in, and out comes a frilly yellow parasol. Hands it to you. She says, "It is enchanted." As you look at it, it's got frilly yellows. It's very nice. It's very dainty. The the crook of it has been carved. It kind of looks like a tropical bird a little bit. And she says, "If you fall, you can open it up. The enchantment will gently bring you to the ground." That's it. That's all it does.
So it's a Mary Poppins umbrella.
I may have watched Mary Poppins this weekend. put that on the list.
I'm trying to think of the highest point in the building.
The roof.
So this umbrella allows you to float downwards at 60 feet around when open, negating fall damage.
Run up to the roof.
You guys hear the attic window opens, and about 5 seconds later, you just see Nula's feet and then torso and then body just drift down to the ground outside the.
I have never
Lock the
seen
door. Lock the door.
Mage Hand.
Mage hand what?
You locked the door.
Maybe. Try the door. It is locked. Second later.
Nula comes back in with her umbrella.
But where have you been?
Alrighty, and that is everybody's loot crate this session.
It's taking all my willpower not to just break out in song right now.
Alrighty. Let's
No
see.
giant
9:52. So,
I forgot that song.
I gave you an idea.
right behind Nula, as she's briefly locked out and comes back in with her parasol, steps a sort of confused-looking Tabitha Delker. Still got her green cloak from before. She kind of looks around the room. You see she recognizes the group of you. She's a little befuddled as a 6.5-foot dragonborn just drifted out of an upper window. She kind of comes in, doesn't say anything. She just waits for somebody to.
I'm going to say hello. I'm going to edge past her, glance out the door, and see if anybody.
Sure. Go ahead.
I'm going to ask her directly if she was followed.
She says, "No,
How sure are you?
fairly certain.
That was horrible.
I've taken precautions necessary, and as far as I'm aware, no one has interested in me.
That is a whole whopping 6, because I rolled a natural 1.
You don't see anybody. Namara says, if anyone comes snooping around the outside of the house, we have precautions in place. We should know it. Some peace of mind, perhaps, at least.
A little bit, not as much as I prefer. I close the door and throw the lock.
At this point, Colin is like, well, I think we can all agree that I'll be of absolutely no help in this situation, so I will retire upstairs. He probably just gets up and walks out of the room. He's like, I don't remember any of the people involved in any of this situation, so I'm going to go away.
Have a good night.
And you just hear him like thump, 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 goes up the stairs.
Don't take it personal.
Demios stands up and he says, Miss Delka, was it? She nods. Tabitha. I am sorry to hear that ill has befallen your father. I hear from my employees that you believe that they might be able to assist you. My name is Demios Thamaran. This is Namara Utumpa. This is our man Stanfield. He can fetch you anything if you require something to eat, something to drink. The dwarf who just left is Colin, and I assume you already know the remainder of this group. If you wish that Namara and myself should leave the room, we will be happy to do so, to allow you to talk in private. If there is anything else that we can do to assist you, please do not hesitate to let me know. And she kind of just nods at all of this silence. She says, thank you. No, I'm fine. And stay or go, I suppose. My conversation with Mr. Replock and his associates is, I suppose, nothing that needs to be a great secret to you. He sort of shrugs. He looks to you guys and he says, I will be happy to give you the room if you wish. I do not know what insight I might be able to provide.
I mean, it's your house. You're welcome to stay.
Yes, it's in either event.
If you do have business you do wish to take care of, we'll not keep you from it.
He kind of, he thinks, he says, perhaps I will continue to look into the relic that we are studying in the attic. He says, I can return should you require anything of me. And he kind of heads out. Namara is kind of still in her chair. She says, I will listen. And I think, as we prepare to delve into the plight of Tabitha Delker, we will call an end to tonight's session. Okay, so, hey, go ahead and pass around the notepads for tonight's Golden D20 vote. Anybody who is still with us in chat, if you have a vote for somebody for the Golden D20 for next week, please put that in the chat. You are certainly welcome to. It will help break a tie.
I'm going to need a pencil.
We need to get you a powder blade for just a year.
So, thank you for joining us for tonight's episode. This was what is, I guess, going to turn out to be part 1 of 2 of an intermission. I thought we'd get through everything in one episode, but we didn't. That's fine, though. We are probably not too much more to get through in this intermission, and then we will get started on our next adventure arc. So, thank you again to our sponsors. Blue Apron? No.
God, I wish.
Marble Moon Studio and the 8th House and Little Dragon Corp. Thank you for sponsoring us. Please check. Thank you for just throwing things into my area. Thank you for their sponsorship. Please check them out. You can find their information as it was in our video. You can find that stuff on. Thank you. Our various social medias. Once again, I remind you, if you have not done so, please subscribe and follow Proficiency Bonus If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscription. It would be super duper helpful for
Duper. Super
I've been
duper.
talking for 3.5 hours. The wheels are coming off. All right, here we go. So,
This is just gonna well, there's
alrighty.
a thing there. It's just I ran out of ink and I couldn't write a reason after I wrote.
Well, it can't be worse than whatever Becca's looks like, I'm sure. I said Walter for Grand Theft Violin. I have Walter for Spider Fraud. I have Namara for Feeding Children. Namara is an NPC and thus ineligible for votes. I have Walter for Haggling.
Was that in quotes? Yes.
Yes. And I have one for Brahm for nothing, for no reason. Which means Walter has the golden D20 for next week. My vote, not that it matters, but my vote would have been for Brahm for Dust with Your Eyes.
That's what I was trying to write. I was trying to write the violin.
That was good, but
Spider Fraud.
Spider Fraud. So Walter will have the golden D20 for next week. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/ProficiencyBonus. If you want to catch up with any of our back episodes, go find us on YouTube, Tabletop Legends. That's it. Bye!